Happy Friday. Ooh, let me get this ready. Yeah, I'm going to just go on in. A lot happening today. They're supposed to finish up with Cassie. And then I think the next witness is Don Richards. Oh, she looked manly. He turned her into a tranny type look, didn't he? He liked the manly. Like he made old girl cut her hair off that time, shade. I think he'd be trying to get him to look like yeah, no. You know, AunTeaFee gonna add her little. But anyway, she's supposed to come on today. They're trying to finish up. Hey, Max to the boogie. Max to the boogie. Yeah, she like, ooh, yeah, she look like she used to be cute on Making Her the Band, but Barbie. And she dated, I can't think of the guy. I used to like him too. That was in that Day 7. Mm-hmm. And then he was on that, did you see what I sent you about Smokey? Who's Smokey? Smokey. Hey, Travis. What it do? Who is Smokey? Smokey. Smokey Robinson. Let me get to my... Ooh. Smokey. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Uncle Smokey. What you done? Baby, I saw last night. Smokey. I see Diddy in the bed. What is this one about Smokey? He up next. Oh, yeah. Smokey when he be on this stage trying to go out. Go out. Damn, like he still got it now, man. Now, I know you be trying to inject some here and inject some there. But you better sit your ass down. But yeah, he next. Let me see what it say. Oh, do you want me to start here? How can I send this to 85 under criminal investigation for 4 ex-housekeepers abuse, accusing him of ape and abuse. Smoking. You kept it in the house. This trial is heartbreaking. I completely understand, Cassie. I lived in hell of a marriage for 21 years. A lot of what Diddy did and said reminds me of my ex's torture. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. I sure hate that. I sure hate that. You know, I thank God that I don't have any stories that is remotely similar. But I do understand dating a narcissist and feeling like you're obligated, nothing criminal, but just obligated to trying to stick it out, even though, you know, anyway, I understand that, you know, I will stand up for that. And I know men will manipulate you into things, especially if you hurt them. Child, all I know is men can't handle what they did, child. That's all I know. That's all I know. If I don't know nothing else, I know men can't handle what they did, child. And if you will allow them to continue to hurt you and hurt your feelings, and, you know, they act like they can't connect the dots, and just think that because you're young and dumb that you're just going to continue to allow them to manipulate you. And the day that you decide that I'm not going to let you do that no more, all hell breaks loose. Now, I do understand that. I do understand it. And I thank God for having a mother who, I don't want to just as strong because she was. She had 6 kids, and I think her and my dad divorced when I was young. And so raising her kids well, you know, she did whatever she needed to do. So I thank God for seeing her strength and seeing and knowing how to fight back. Can I say that? And just, you know, seeing a lot of things in life for me to be able to say, oh, And the minute you try to fight me, you allow your control, your manipulation to take you to a point where you're going to force me to comply with you, whether I hurt you or not. But in the meantime, you know, I can be honest to know that sometimes it can go on a long time. You know, the manipulation, a man's manipulation is hell. And you can feel like somebody helped you or was there for you or provided for you or what have you. In your mind, you're saying, okay, you got to do this. You got to do that. I understand that. Now, some people going to act like they don't. Shame on them. Shame on them. I'm going to be honest enough to be able to help the next person and say, I understand. I understand. So let me try to help you get on up out of there. Because you can. You got to get in front of how you feel about them and put yourself in front of that and feel that way about yourself first. Because they will continue to manipulate and hurt you. String you along. And a scorned man, baby, is worse than a scorned female. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. They're going to go years and years and years to try to make a female feel, okay, how they felt. And all along, they was trying to act like shit didn't bother them. And the female will have to find out the hard way that it did. And the insecurities that they put on you was really their insecurities. Okay? Okay? But you got to have somebody in your corner. If you can't hear God, you got to be able to have somebody in your corner to say to you, baby girl, I don't care what he got. I don't care how much money he got. I don't care nothing about none of that. He gonna kill you. And say it just like that. You know how many little young ladies I done helped with that? I hear you. I understand. I understand good ding-ling. I understand long money. I understand all of that. But I also understand that black eye and that busted lip. I understand that. And I understand that he's going to continue to manipulate you and make you run. See, if she would have continued, if Cassie would have continued to fight him, whether he was beating the hell out of her or not, he'd have stopped. At some point, he'd have clicked and said, this fool crazy. And then he may start thinking, oh, she gonna try to kill me. Yeah. So, listen, if you don't have people in your corner that's going to honestly tell you to leave instead of saying, girl, if I was you, I'd stay, girl. He take you here, he take you there, shit like that. Because in the end, she still feels worthless. Now she feels like she's wasted all those years thinking that she was going to have a career. And he knew a long time ago she wasn't. And yes, I do believe he is going to be hit with these charges and found guilty. Now, we're going to listen today, but we're going to also listen to somebody else who was there. And she, we have no idea. Like, we didn't know he was really trying his own case, sitting there at that table, telling these people what to say. While they up here acting like, oh, he had a good day. She said, that's a lie. And the truth ain't in him. He done had a temper tantrum in court. Trying the evidence or what they was going to present, they couldn't present because he done rewrote the defense's arguments and shit, and he writing down his own questions that he wants. He's still trying to run shit. We're gonna listen to that too. And then Dawn is coming today. Okay? So I'm not going to continue to talk, but I'm going to tell you, y'all, ladies and gentlemen, because there are some men out there who have been abused as well. I don't discriminate. I don't care. I just refuse to allow somebody to manipulate you. And then you done trusted them with your deepest, darkest secrets. And guess what they do? They dangle that over your head as well. Don't let her have been abused before he met her. Don't let there have been some domestic violence in her parents and shit. Oh yeah, he gonna make her think you used to this. That's why he beat your mama. That's what they do. But you gotta have somebody that's gonna tell you the truth. I don't give a damn how much money you got. If it's God's will for you to be with somebody with some money, or if it's his will for him to position you to have your own, he'll do that. I just ask you to trust God instead of trusting that man. Okay, good people? Trust God instead of trusting some dude, some pervert, some sick freak devil. Okay? And Smokey, I'm going to talk about your ass too. While you still trying to, like you still got it. Like you still cute. I don't have no pity for none of you. I know people who have been, molested and ate. I haven't. Now, I've had a boyfriend who didn't understand no that day. I said no. I've had that. I'm not going to act like I haven't. I'm not going to call it 8. But I will say I've had a boyfriend or two who have acted like they didn't understand what no, that no meant yes. And that time, no meant no. No meant no that time. So get out my ear saying, no, you don't mean that. Yeah, I do. And guess what? I'm not going to even move my body. I'm just going to lay here to let you know I'm not into it. I said no. If you want to go on and get off, that's on you. But I'm not going to contribute not a hip, not a swerve to it. And if y'all know me, y'all know I'm telling the truth. But I still, and that's mental for us to still say, well, that wasn't, that really wasn't 8. Legally, it was. But I wouldn't call it that. Y'all see how I'm still trying to retreat from it? But reality, somebody has went through that. And we got to teach the young ladies that is what it is, whether we like them or love them or not. We got to stop making excuses for men and women. Because it has a long-term effect. And we don't think about that when we in the act. So let me move on. Let's get this started. And anybody who's been through it, You know, I pray for you. I'm with you. I'm down for you. I'm solid with you. I don't give a damn. I'm going to validate you. I'm going to validate you. And I'm not going to act like it don't exist. I'm not going to do that. And if you kind of hoish, I'm going to try to help you out of that too. Okay? Let's go, y'all. I'm going to start here until I...
Returning to New York for a promotion for her 2016 film, The Perfect Match, but didn't remember much after that as well. The defense questions Kat earlier this morning because in those text messages, she says, when you get this effed up, this is the way you act. So really showcasing to the defense and really the jury saying, okay, you can see he clearly has a problem. She knows he has a problem. I'm sure other people in the industry knew he had a problem. And I'm sure that some of the defense witnesses later on in the trial will be bringing some of those witnesses to clarify and really drive home that, yeah, Sean Combs did have a problem with drugs and alcohol. He'd act loopy, he wasn't himself, and he would just sometimes get really violent as well. So, yeah, that is something that we should really focus in on today.
Hold on, let me move forward and see where they at.
Diddy could
and then I'll
end
go
her
back.
career if she did come forward. She was asked on the stand a little bit of a reversal, the fact that her civil settlement, this trial, this case could end Diddy's career. Do you think that had any weight with the jury?
It's so hard to say. I don't think so.
Ventura's March 10, 2016 text to Combs. When you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me power and knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. Read aloud, detailing abuse. The jury also views messages from days after the 2016 intercontinental altercation. Combs expressed a sexual desire for Ventura.
Hey,
Under
naturally,
cross-examination,
Nolan.
Ventura says she found it a little strange post-assault. Combs in the text wrote, I felt that way from Friday. What are you doing? Ventura replied. Not a good vibe. We need a different.
Not sure if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. President Trump responded and said,
Friday, LOL, I don't want to do that again. They exchanged love yous. Ventura says Diddy often took her phone, passport, and other belongings when angry, usually over men that she had dated or was suspected
Push the awful
of talking
boat.
to
I saw
or
that,
dating.
Max.
Ventura testified, if I was with anyone else, I wouldn't call it cheating. We weren't married. She said, in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, it's more of a technicality when you're not officially together. Cassie Ventura testified Combs took her phone back in 2013 over suspicions that she danced with Chris Brown. She said she didn't. In 2016, he took her phone again with learning that she was dating someone else. She said they weren't really together back then. In August of 2016, Cassie Ventura and Combs took her phone after seeing that she was dating someone else. They weren't really together then. While driving to a doctor's appointment, he grabbed her phone and ran off after she unlocked it. Cassie Ventura said to her mom, then called police after she came home without her phone. She got it back later that day. While Combs had it, he used it to call the NFL player she was seeing. That player wasn't mentioned. Cassie also testified that after the Intercontinental incident, Cassie Ventura remembered not a whole lot. She recalled returning to New York for promos for her 2016 film, The Perfect Match, but didn't remember much after that. The defense questioned Cassie Ventura about a 2013 birthday party for her brother, where she allegedly got into a physical altercation with a woman and told Sean Combs that she tried to kill the bee. During cross-examination, audio was played of Cassie saying, I will kill you, cut you up, and I'm not playing with you. Diddy is heard replying, because I'm not disrespectful, bro. Cassie confirms that it was her voice in the audio. She said Combs had expressed concern about the videos being released. She also believed an escort named Jonathan may have recorded a video of their sex session.
Jonathan.
Sean Combs was upset after sex videos of Cassie Ventura leaked. She testified Mr. Combs would make sure that a video would not get released. Is that right? The defense lawyer asked Cassie, and she agreed on that. Ventura testifies that she and Sean Combs used Cowboys for Angels, an escort service featured on Showtime's Gigolos.
Oh.
Ventura confirmed that she'd been worried escorts that she and Combs used might appear on Gigolos and expose their relationship. A defense attorney also noted that some freak-off escorts were on the show, but Ventura said that she never watched it. Cassie Ventura said that she entered patient treatment for mental health episode in early 2023 and began writing her book there. She also confirmed that she's been on medication since 2022 for opioid addiction. The program lasted for 45 days.
Wow.
Cassie Ventura, who is normally unflappable on the stand, but you can hear her voice shrink as the defense asks about her mental health and drug abuse. An attorney asked what medications Ventura was taking, and she talks about those medications.
That's hippo, boo.
The drugs for opioid treatment. The rehab center Ventura went to has services for sex addiction and sex compulsion, the lawyer noted. It also treats something called love addiction. Were you treated to any of these things? Ventura said that she was not. Prosecutors have objected twice during this sensitive line of questioning. While the judge allowed the defense to carry on, he has now called for a brief sidebar as well.
That's deep to me.
And again, folks, we are just waiting for more major updates here on Live Now from Fox. As we continue to get them, we will break it down for you and showcase always the very latest to you on Live Now.
All right, just listening in there, that was Douglas Wigder, the attorney for Cassie Ventura, who was on the stand getting grilled during cross-examination, saying hopefully it ends tomorrow, that she is tired, but she's holding up great, saying there's no credibility issue in terms of what they're hearing from her, but plenty of more bombshell details around her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs inside of that courthouse. Of course, no cameras, so we're only getting it through transcript, through reporters, but the day number 4 wrapping up right now, and hopefully, potentially, Cassie will be off the stand by tomorrow. A live picture right now.
Hey, Big Pressure. Diddy was a
Live
demon
now
and
Fox.
Cassie
All right,
was
let's
a
bring into the
money
conversation as we do almost every day
who
about
loved
this. Executive
mistreatment.
producer Michael Babcock. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Oh, Garrett
Lots
told
to
me
get
about
into
people
in
like
terms of
you,
the text messages, how the
Pressure.
defense is painting their relationship.
I thought about you
between
when I heard
Cassie
him.
and Diddy.
I
What
thought
did
about
you hear
you.
today, and what's the big takeaways for you?
Hey, Eddie, thanks for having me back.
She said you was
look,
hired
obviously, this is the
by
third
Diddy.
day that Cassie was on the stand. Now, the first 2 days were the prosecution.
She said you was hired by
obviously
Diddy,
trying
Big Pressure.
to paint the picture that Diddy, using a number of different leverage methods, coerced her into doing these really horrible things that Cassie did not want to do. Well, the defense side of things, and today they were up, their job was to say, look, Cassie is an adult and she chose on her own free will to engage in some of this sexual activity. And they started the day, Andy, by going through some text messages that are obviously many, many years old now. But that showed or seemed to show a really loving relationship between
he out there
Cassie
painting
and
narratives
Diddy. And it really
and on
painted the
purpose,
picture of two people who are
and
in
he
love.
got people out there
I
to
think,
spin
obviously
that
was
those
something that they were trying
narratives
to show.
to overlook
But
the facts.
This is not a horrible,
That's what she
abusive
said.
relationship. This was a loving relationship, and again, perhaps they in the bedroom did things that other people might not necessarily get down in their own lives, but that this was what they like to do.
And she said she there, and so she
later, I think you really started to see themes of
she said he was feeding
and distrust in the relationship, and that Diddy admittedly was jealous over what Cassie might have been doing.
I believe
celebrity. I know we had just, in fact, talked, I think, yesterday, Andy, about other celebrities and if other names were going to be brought into this. Well, yeah, we heard today about Kid Cudi and jealousy issues with Kid Cudi and Cassie being together.
At 21, 22,
we heard
you
about
date
Michael
more
B.
than
Jordan and
one
Cassie
guy?
possibly having a relationship that angered Diddy. So, again, there was these themes of distrust and of cheating in the relationship that seemed to go both ways. And, again, this is probably not the end of it. She is going to be back tomorrow, and hopefully that's it for Cassie. She does not want to have to come back next week and carry her testimony into a second week. But it's only day 4, and it's
that Diddy was a thought.
Explosive. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. And the lawyer for Cassie is saying hopefully wraps up tomorrow, and hopefully she can really close this chapter on her life as we learn those details. The $20 million in this civil settlement that come soon after those bombshell details back a few years ago.
Pressure, how many women you done had?
As you guys do at TMZ, doing a great job covering all the celebrities. And when these two individuals,
Are you a thought?
Combs, met with Cassie back in 2008, I believe.
Is Diddy
she
a
was
thought?
19, he was 37. Can you detail some of their relationship? Because the jealousy component
How many
comes into
women
it as she wanted
have
to
he
be
had?
in more of an exclusive
And she,
relationship
these
with
men
Diddy.
came
Can
up
you
to
take me
her.
through the timeline
She's
a
single.
little bit of their relationship and how public
How many
it
men
was?
is she allowed
Yeah,
in
I mean,
your
I think,
head
like you said, Andy,
to
first of
date
all,
without
she is
being a thought?
young person, like like you just pointed out, a literal teenager at the time
I'm
who was
just asking.
trying to make it in the industry. And you've got this guy in Diddy who had been around for decades already and was incredibly well established and very powerful in the industry. So there was a massive power dynamic between the two. And she tells the story of them celebrating her birthday and Diddy kissing her for the first time in a bathroom, and how she liked him and she was into him and she wanted to make him happy. And that goes into a lot of the things then
that makes
she
her
ultimately
mental.
said that she did for him, despite the fact that she had said he had been violent with her, that he had not just during, some sexual acts or in the bedroom, but had also just been violent with her because of jealousy and for other reasons. But she remained committed to him because she was in love with this person. And she also feared that he could ruin her career if she were to have broken up with him. And that was a real fear for her, she says. So it was violent the way she paints it from the very beginning, or near the very beginning, and it's remained violent through their relationship and through them breaking up in the mid-2010s. And to hear of the last act of their relationship, Andy, when she says that she broke up with Diddy at a restaurant, and they were having this closure, conversation where they were going to say goodbye to each other.
I just hate she didn't know that he was planning.
Her back to her place, and she claims that he sexually assaults her there. So, I mean, almost from beginning to end, she said this relationship was rife with violence, with sexual violence, and again, it just really seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, that is a very good point. One thing that you mentioned there about ending their career, of course, Cassie was threatened or felt threatened that Diddy could end her career if she did come forward. She was asked on the stand a little bit of a reversal, the fact that her civil settlement, this trial, this case could end Diddy's career. Do you think that had any weight with the jury?
It's so hard to say. I don't think so. I think, if there's anything that has been perceived as a whole thus far in the prosecution's case, and we probably have 7, 8, 9 weeks left, so it's probably not even fair to say this at this point, but nonetheless, this is the conversation that you're hearing outside the courtroom. I think some people have said this is not an assault trial, and while the prosecution has certainly showed that Diddy was violent and domestic violence was rife in the relationship, have they shown that there were federal crimes committed when it comes to sex trafficking? And a lot of people have said that that part has been lacking so far. So I don't necessarily think, Andy, that the the settlement or the civil lawsuit that Cassie brought last year. I don't know that that has a massive impact. I do think that there could be a situation where the jury says,
"Oh, was she? I didn't
look, not a good guy, not
Porter.
a good boyfriend, but not
she was jealous of him.
Charges that they brought against him.
She wanted to be number one. That's how he was playing her.
2 months here to fill in these gaps
and
to make their case. I think thus far, I'm not sure that they've exactly shown that he is guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering, which again is what he's charged with.
Yeah, we are a long way to go in this trial. Hopefully, Cassie is off the stand in terms of that tomorrow. Anything else that you're keeping an eye on? Anything else?
That's what kills me about people.
No, I think one of the other important or sort of shocking things to come out of today was Cassie saying that in 2010 that Diddy actually overdosed on opiates. She said they were hanging out in the LA area. They go to.
This is what killed me about people, because we tend to remove ourselves and remove our experiences in life. You know, when it becomes somebody else, maybe public or people that we know, we act like we don't understand. We don't have empathy. See, to me, Pressure, you don't have no empathy at all. You don't. And when empathy could apply, if you think about how things would be and how you would feel if it was done to someone that you love, you immediately say, "Oh, but that wouldn't happen," because I'm in their life, we talk, I'm in their business, all of that. You mean you sure don't? Yeah, but the reality of it is, as a man, when y'all see these young ladies and y'all got or somebody at the house, someone who's solid with you, that ain't going nowhere, no matter how many bills y'all pay, how many dinners y'all buy, you ain't leaving that. Now, I'm going to play with you. And if you slow enough, dumb enough, what y'all may say, green enough to think that I'm shit. This is a man. Shit, I'm a shit. And she got good head, and she got good, a good cookie. Yeah, I'm shit, but I ain't leaving home. See, in her mind, if she was mature, if she was seasoned and valued herself and had, some form of worth with herself, she would have said, I can't come to your house. You my boyfriend, and we're not going to spend holidays together. I can't interact with you and your kids. You can only come here or take me out of town. Those are all red flags that she should have got. Now, at 20, 21, 22, 23, hell, 26, 27. 26, 27, the light may be coming on, but it still may be a little dim. Right? It ain't fully coming on. You believe it. He buying you gifts. He doing this, that, and the other. He taking you here. Y'all doing things that you've never done before. You experiencing things with him you've never experienced before. He calling you baby, and he say he love you. This man told her yesterday, we heard him say, I just love you so much you made me cry. She believed that. Me? I would have been like, what? What part of it made you cry? Hell, I want to cry too. What was so moving? What, huh? See, but they tell me I'm too hard. They tell me I act like a dude sometimes. I got a dude mentality. Yeah, I just want to know why. Because if I start playing with you the way you trying to play with me, you ain't going to be able to handle that. I got a whole bunch of homies. I got more homeboys than I have female friends. And I got some player-ass brothers and brothers-in-laws and all that type of shit. So I have been taught by the best. So I'm going to ask them questions. She didn't have nobody in there that was going to help her through that. And you men who are now calling her a thought have done the same thing, to not to that degree, but played with the mind of a woman before. Strung her ass along. Right? Are we gonna act like, yeah, and then when she decide, when she start dating somebody else, now she a hoe. She a thought. Cause she realized that you got somebody at home. So hell, I need to have a side piece too. If it's good for you to have one or two, why is it not good for her to have one or two? Just because she going out with him don't mean that she's sleeping with him. So what's she supposed to do when you at home wrapped up with your woman that ain't going nowhere? What's she supposed to do? Sit there and wait for you? Get mad and play with herself? No, that's bullshit, man. Y'all full of crap. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that on out. The world has made me colder. It's your ass, I see.
And then Diddy then ultimately goes to the Playboy Mansion by himself. Cassie says that later on, Diddy became so sick that she had to take him to the hospital. And ultimately, it's because he had actually OD'd on opiates. So these are things that we had obviously never heard of before, and sort of all just learning these things, and it's sort of coming out like a fire hose, Andy.
Yeah, that is very true. Obviously, the different freak-offs that we're learning about this graphic in nature, but also the drug aspect to this case is going to get a lot of headlines as well. All right, Michael Babcock, I appreciate your time here on Live Now from Fox. Great insight as well. I'm sure we'll talk to you maybe again tomorrow.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, Andy.
Take care. All right.
We are continuing to give you these updates as fast as we get them. We want to bring them out to you. But right now, we are seeing the cross-examination really start today, talking about the drug use and alcohol use of Diddy. And the defense wants to frame this as, look, to the jurors. They want to say, look, we know our client is not the best guy. We know that he has several issues. Domestic violence is one of them, but also drug use is very paramount in his life. They want to establish this because any of the other really allegations that come out against Sean Combs, the defense can always say that he was under the influence at this time. So they are trying to plant that right now in the jury's mind, also by describing the
if he murdered somebody under the influence, it's still a crime.
It's going to be brought up a little bit later here in this trial, where we will get a little bit more info on Sean Combs going to rehab, how he overdosed and almost died in one of his freak-off marathon sessions that happened there. So this is going to be key as we move forward here in this trial, as the defense really, again, like I said, trying to establish that moment of Sean Combs having a deep alcohol.
Y'all, can we have a moment of silence for Pressure? Big Pressure. May God massage his heart and mind. He said, the world have made me have made him colder than ice. Lord, I am asking for you to melt that ice for Pressure, so that he may find empathy and love in his heart for others. Amen. Amen. Let's go.
And drug use problem. So we'll be keeping
shout out to Big Pressure.
If you're just joining us, cross-examination really starting with the incident in 2016.
He cold as ice.
Cassie did say on the stand that Sean Combs was visibly intoxicated and on drugs during that time when he did assault Cassie, and that was caught on the camera. Then days after, we were shown some text message exchanges that Diddy seemed remorseful, wanted to have sex with Ventura in the coming days. She was recuperating, she said, and it felt a little strange given that he just beat her down. But they both, at the end of that conversation, did exchange love yous once again. And this is key because defense are trying to show that Cassie was not totally scared of the incident, was still engaging and having conversations with him during this time. So again, just a little bit more details coming from the cross-examination that we're able to pass along to you, always worldwide on Live Now from Fox, giving you these updates to the best of our abilities here. Let's wait for some more updates as we get them. They are continuing to talk about the incident in 2016 and really the timeline after, just days after, talking of the relationship of Sean Combs and Cassie. Now, what the defense wants to do is showcase a moment that we've all seen, right? That the jury has seen this video in 2016. It's brutal, right? I mean, he's beating her, dragging her, kicking her, stomping on her. Defense wants to show, though, that in most relationships, if someone did that to someone, they'd be out. They would have ran away. They would have said, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to be a part of this. But they are going to try to show from these text messages that Cassie still loved him and wanted to be with him and felt that he only did this when he was intoxicated and when he was on drugs. That's one of the key things that came out earlier this morning, because in those text messages, she says, when you get this effed up.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? This glasses cannot...
Up to the defense and really the jury, saying, okay, you can see he clearly has a problem. She knows he has a problem. I'm sure other people in the industry knew he had a problem, and I'm sure that some of the defense witnesses later on in the trial will be bringing some of those witnesses to clarify and really drive home that, yeah, Sean Combs did have a problem with drugs and alcohol. He'd act loopy, he wasn't himself, and he would just sometimes get really violent as well. So, yeah, that is something that we should really focus in on today as one of the major takeaways that we are seeing. Again, Diddy is winning this all from the defense stand. And I was talking a little bit yesterday, remember, to Attorney Ben Taylor. We'll have him on throughout this trial, but I was talking about how weird this must be and strange for Sean Combs that his life, everything that he knew about it, probably for the last 30 years, is completely reversed. I'm talking about having, a 20,000 square foot mansion, multiple mansions on each coast. Now he's in a cell. He's lucky to have 500 square feet. So the mental really tingling, if you will, that Sean Combs is under right now has to be very eye-opening. And they always say, when that cell door does click in and you hear it bang and you know it's locked up, things have definitely changed in your life here. But Sean Combs fighting for his life. Not only is he fighting because if convicted on all the
he's
counts,
he's still on
but because
sitting in that chair manipulating now.
The nature of these allegations, and if he's found guilty on some of these RICO charges, the government is going to do what is called asset forfeiture, meaning they are going to take all of his assets as well. So they are going to, again, take anything that's in the bank accounts, which is probably a lot. They're going to take and assume ownership of his homes, sell those at market value, impound his cars, take all his jewelry, and everything else. So there is a lot on the line, not only for Sean Combs, but his family as well. The sons and daughters have to be thinking, okay, if he goes in and is convicted, we aren't getting any of his money where maybe they did think down the line they would after he died. So that's another key thing to definitely talk about here on Live Down from Fox as we continue to roll on. So he would have forfeited all of that. All right, folks, so we are back out live giving you these updates in real time right now, a live look right now outside of the courthouse. I do want to bring you some other updates that we are getting from ins of court right now. Let's monitor these because there was some lulls, but it was going back and forth. Okay. The lawyer noted the rehab center treats sex and love addiction. When asked if she was treated for any of those, Ventura said no. Prosecutors have objected twice during the sensitive line of questioning while the judge allowed the defense to carry on. He has now called for a brief sidebar that now continues. Cassie Ventura testified that she was treated for PTSD at Willow House in 2023, undergoing therapies like EMDR and other experiences to help process traumatic memories. The judge also complained to lawyers during the 10-minute break that the defense's cross-examination has been interrupted too often by disputes over evidence. While on the brief break, Combs was sitting by himself at the defense table. He asked a junior member of his legal team to adjust the monitor on the table so that he could see the screen more clearly. Combs' sons and sister are present in court today. Defense cited 2010 texts between Diddy and Cassie about freak-offs. Cassie had said earlier she planned to tell him she wanted to stop, but backed out after seeing his reaction. Ventura says, I want to talk to you about something tomorrow. Going to sleep. Love you. Combs says, is it going to stress me out? What is it about? Ventura says, freak off. It can wait. It's not a big deal. Combs says, now you don't want to do it anymore. Oh, I already know. You are so predictable. Ventura says, really? Okay. Since
she didn't want to do it.
What it was, we'll leave it at that then, since I'm so predictable. Have a good night. Combs says, whatever, baby. I'm not going to play no games with you, and you ain't going to keep shutting me down. I'm not shutting you down, Ventura says. I never do. If anything, it's always the other way around. I wasn't going to say I didn't want to do it anymore. The defense pointed to old BlackBerry-era text where Ventura asked to have a freak-off with another woman. The defense questioned Ventura about her civil lawsuit claim that Combs raped her back in September of 2018 after dinner in Malibu. She confirmed meetings with U.S. officials in late 2023 and early 2025, but didn't recall describing Combs as acting strangely that night. Cassie testifies that she broke up with Combs for good in August of 2010 after she saw a photo of him with another woman that he'd been dating for the last few years of their decade-long relationship. I just don't trust anymore. The last shot put the nail in the coffin. Cassie texted Combs, referring to the photo of Combs with a woman identified in court as Gina. I promised myself I wouldn't be with you anymore if you did that to me again, Cassie wrote, telling Combs, you lied to me, and she never went away. Soon after, Cassie said she started dating her now husband, Alex Fine. The defense attorney asked if Cassie Ventura hated Sean Diddy Combs now. I don't hate him now, Ventura testified. Do you still have love for him? The defense asked. I have love for the past and what it was, Ventura said. So again, waiting on more key updates, but yeah, major takeaway right now. It says Cassie on the stand saying that she does not hate Sean Combs. That the past is the past according to her. We'll wait for more updates here on Live Now.
Well, I guess it's good that she don't hate.
Just some other updates that we're able to pass along to you. The defense is asking Cassie Ventura about a weedy series of dates, texts, and meetings with prosecutors that seems confusing even to her. There have been multiple objections and a sidebar and little coherent testimony. The defense is currently bouncing between an incident in 2018 where Ventura claimed Sean Combs raped her in Malibu and her account of that incident to federal process in 2023 after she filed her sexual assault lawsuit against Combs. The defense also has asked her to recall meetings with prosecutors in 2025. We have returned to court and again are picking up an exchange of text messages between Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura from 2010. Previously on direct, Ventura testified that in the text messages, she wanted to tell Combs that she did not want to participate in freak-offs, but was afraid that he would be upset. The defense is bringing up text messages from around the period when Ventura asked to have a freak-off with a girl. They are most likely hoping to paint her as else. I wouldn't call it cheating. We weren't married, she said. Cassie, and she agreed on that. Ventura testified drug use and alcohol use of Diddy. This message exchanges that Diddy seemed remorseful, wanted to have sex with Ventura in the coming days. She was recuperating, she said, and it felt a little strange given that he just beat her down. But they both, at the end of that conversation, did exchange love use once again. And this is key because defense are trying to show that Cassie was not totally scared of the incident, was still engaging and having conversations with him.
No, pressure, stop that. Thank you, Max.
All right, everyone, we are bringing you the latest here.
Y'all, look, Max Boogie put my cash app.
Jury has just gone on lunch, so we will be getting more updates in a little bit. On Live Now from Fox, I will play some of the coverage that we've had
to show support to the platform.
I'll take a break as well, and I'll be back with you here on Live.
Okay, hold on, y'all. Let me go to old girl who there. Hold on. Thank you, Max.
Bringing you these updates all in real time. I'll try to be with you here, waiting on more key updates. But I just want to rehash some of the big things that we have already heard today in this Diddy trial that has been all-consuming for so many people that continue to want to get these updates in real time here.
Yeah, I'm finna go.
Early on in today, the defense brought back the 2016 incident.
That's exactly who I was talking about.
The jury saw Ventura's March 10, 2016 text to Combs. When you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me power and knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child. Read aloud, detailing abuse. The jury
Daddy, that's co-conspirators.
I want to go back to that one too, but let's see what she put. Let's go Tisa.
It's not just legal in 30
Shout out to
states.
Tisa Tells.
It's a $36 billion global industry.
We are live outside the courthouse. Sorry I missed you guys earlier, but there was so much commotion going on. You guys, come in here and sit down. We need to talk. Cassie literally talked about Jonathan Adi. She said that he tried to smell her, and he had record FO tapes. Get this, Jonathan did it for his own protection. He said that he thought Diddy might blame him for Cassie's. You guys, we got to talk about this, and this is something big. Hold on really quick.
Yep.
Listen, good morning, everybody, first of all.
Jonathan Adi.
How are things going? Hold on really quick. 1 second, you guys. There is sorry, guys. So much stuff is happening in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Again, Cassie said that Jonathan Audie had a freak off tape. She said he weirded her out. He didn't trust it. Jonathan Audie said, yeah, I taped you, but guess what? I did it for my own protection. On top of that, Diddy's team is up to struggling. I really, at this point, and I've been sitting around a lot of legal experts, we don't know what the point is. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. I do know this. It seems like Diddy is intent on destroying Cassie's reputation. 100% intent. He lost everything. And let me tell you something, Cassie is inside of his head. There was a thing where people said that Cassie was giggling in court. She was not laughing. But Cassie does a nervous thing like, huh, whenever she feels nervous, okay? This is true. Even in her text message, she does that. However, in court, when they said, what did Diddy value the most? Cassie said his reputation, his success, right? And Diddy looked like he wanted to explode, okay? Diddy looks like he wanted to explode. Again, remember I said, everybody talking about, oh, it's an apology. Why did you go after the money? People like Diddy only care about the money. That's all he cares about. The money, the power, the respect, whatever it is, okay? Cassie was literally on the stand testifying. Diddy's team is all over the place. The point of the matter isn't to get something that sounds salacious. Who cares? Who cares? Even though Cassie did a good job. Oh, it's graduations. I'm outside the courthouse. There's graduations going on. Oh, they're graduating. Oh, wait, no, it's not graduation. Sorry, it's immigration. People are getting their thank you, naturalization and their citizenship. So those are the excited screams of new American citizens. Welcome to the hellhole. Please get to work because we got a lot to fix. We need somebody to fix this economy. Anyway, right? So what happened was, this. Cassie, Diddy had tried all yesterday to make it seem like Cassie was a ho-ho-ho because he was cheating on her and that's why he was beating. Even though anyone that takes that logic, I gotta say, what is wrong with you that you really honestly think because you are hitting, because somebody's cheating on you, you have the right to lay the hands on? Cassie today came back prepared and she said, no, they talked about Chris Brown. They talked about an NFL player. They talked about all this. And the defense was like, yeah, weren't you having an affair? Weren't you cheating? And Cassie said, hey, Yuki Miyazawa, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank y'all for helping me fend this little excursion. Y'all know I'm paying for this on my own. And thank you for everybody for the cash apps and the super chats. I appreciate you. And yes, I will be reading them as they come in. Okay? So here's the problem, okay? Cassie came back today and she was like, Ivy Curtis, she said, love your content. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Ivy. Cassie came back today and she was like, no. Let me hold on 1 second.
Shout out to Tisa.
Okay, so Cassie, sorry y'all. Cassie came back and she was like, no. Let me tell you something. TLD, thank you so much for the super chat. Cassie came back and said, yo, we weren't together. Every time when I was with the NFL player, first of all, they were like, you were dancing with Chris Brown. And she was like, I wasn't dancing with Chris Brown. But Diddy accused me of dancing with Chris Brown. You're trying to paint Cassie as this wayward, loose woman. And even if she was, who cares? Nobody deserves to get abused by this, like that, right? Simalu, thank you so much for joining the family, all right? However, Cassie and Nicola, thank you so much. I
can't wait till I get my...
Cassie pushed back and said, yeah, absolutely not. Y'all not getting me like this. As a matter of fact, we weren't together. And half the times when he was flipping out on me, he was in a jealous rage, but he was always accusing me of doing stuff I didn't do. He accused me of stealing his rugs. He accused me of dancing with Chris Brown. I wasn't dancing with him. He accused me of trying to do this and that, okay? I had a relationship with KOGOTTI. We wasn't together. And Diddy's own team acknowledges that they got together after Cassie broke up with KOGOTTI. Diddy and her got back together. Also, with this NFL player that Cassie was saying, they didn't say the NFL person's name. I'm going to try to Google to see who it is. But Cassie was literally saying, we were not together then either. Diddy's team was stuck. Chandra Sanders said, great job, Tisa. Keep up the great work. Thank y'all so much. I'm just going to be on here for a minute. Not going to hold y'all long, but I want to give y'all the team. There's so much that come in. First of all, before we get into the Jonathan Audie stuff, because it was groundbreaking, The judge is mad. Diddy's team kept trying to delay. Yana Artist
I need
said
to change
amazing
my
job.
thumbnail.
Thank you for the super chat.
I had
and I appreciate y'all
Jonathan
buying
on my thumbnail
folks up for
yesterday.
lunch, coffee, dinner. I appreciate it. Also, there was a lot of 403 objections. They were talking about 2 videos and 1 text message. There was a 30-second clip. It was Diddy walking through nature, okay? It was Diddy walking through nature where he said, nature, God, love. They played it in court. Grace, calmness of love. As I grow, I want you to grow with me. He's now they're saying that was sent from Diddy to Cassie while he was in rehab. He said, yo, it's all love. Now they tried to get Cassie being like, oh, like trying to make it seem like Diddy tried to get clean and Cassie was the one keeping them high off of that own supply, right? Sonia Jackson, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, your mama. But Diddy's team, Cassie's team actually put back and said, actually not. She said, first of all, yes, that was in Sedona. And they were like, well, what's in Sedona? And she was like, energy vortexes. And they were like, oh, well, what about like, rehab facilities? Is that in Arizona? She said, I wouldn't know. They said, isn't it true that you went to a rehab facility in Arizona? Cassie said, Cassie literally sat there and said, no, I went someplace for a week. It was a spa, but not a rehab. All of a sudden, Diddy's team started looking around nervous, and they were like, okay, never mind, no further questions. Because I guess Diddy had told them or let them believe that when he sent that video, he was in rehab, and he was trying to get clean, when at the end of the day, it was nothing but a week-long spa, right? Andre Elam said, do your thing, T, and report back with the outstanding reporting. Thank you. They are still in court. I have to go up very quickly, but let me get through this. So that was the first thing that got Diddy was really, really upset about that, right? Now, there was also a selfie.
Emergencies can strike at any time. That's why it's crucial to be prepared.
Now, there was also a selfie. It was a, hey, Blaine Minor, thank you so much for the super chat. And Kelly, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate y'all. Shania Boland said, hey, Tisa, I emailed you. Says, don't worry, I'm checking my email today. I'm just really busy. Okay, so then there was a photo, exhibit 1193. It was sent by Cassie in the text chain. She was saying that she was talking about going to Dad's class and coming back bruised. They wanted to admit that. They haven't got to that. Myself and a lot of legal experts were like, what does that mean? Because here's the thing, Cassie was hiding the abuse. She hid it from her own mother. So why would she send a random friend pictures of her bruised up, being like, oh, Sean just beat my ass, right? Again, they weren't best friends, it was just random friends. If anything, it looked like Cassie was making excuses for why she had bruises all up and down her body. Talking about, oh my God, I went to this new dance class and it kicked my butt. Because at the end of the day, why would you have bruises on your butt, your backside, and everywhere else you said Diddy kicked you if you were coming out of dance class? It literally doesn't make sense. Sherry for Justice said, good morning, Ray of Sunshine, and thank you. Summer Lou said, you are fabulous and beautiful. Love from Australia. Thank you. And Lisa K said, hi, T, says, sitting enjoying your coverage all week with my son Brandon. Happy early birthday, Brandon. Can you please happy birthday, Brandon? Listen, I'm out in these courts working hard so you can enjoy your special day. Everybody, please give Lisa's son Brandon some birthday love. Also, MLM, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, so that's what was going on. So there was a photo of also Diddy's team were literally acting like they were so happy they could show 2 pieces of evidence until the defense shut that down. Also, Little Debbie, thank you so much for the cash apps. Also, let's see, text messages. Oh, the prosecution once again tried to do an ambush. They were bombarded with 400 pieces. Oh yeah, also you guys, I'm working on the cash app. I think because I got so many cash apps. It wasn't a lot, but it was a lot of individual ones. Cash App is just having me re-verify. Don't worry, I'm a real person, baby. Don't worry. Everything legit over here. But I'm working on that with Cash App. Anyway, right? They said it should be fixed by the time this live is over. They said they were bombarded with 400 pieces and only want to use 4 to 5 pieces of evidence. That's another thing. The defense kept sneaking in things that weren't admitted into evidence. It happened a few times. They would show it to the jury, then be like, oops, mistake. After the 3rd time, Judge Aaron had his fill, right? Diddy, oddly enough, I told you yesterday he was very upset with Tenny Garagos. The whole team, actually. But Diddy was whispering to Mark Agnifilio. Get this. The whole time of the trial, it's been Mark, Teeny, Diddy, Brian Still. I met Brian Still. He said he knew who I was. So it was Mark, Garagos, Tinny, Diddy, Brian Still, Shapiro, and then there's this other girl. I think her name's Miss Esteban or something like that. Today, Diddy only had Brian on one side and Mark Garagos on the other, and he was not in a good mood with Tinny Garagos. Latina said, great job, Tisa. Stay safe out there. I most certainly 100% will. Also, Elysion Jester, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate that. And then Dogmon Laura said, thank you, Tisa. Get some rest. Listen, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Kurt, let me stop talking about that. Speaking into existence, Cree Speaks 23 said, thank you for the awesome reporting. You are welcome. Okay, so let me get through this stuff, right? So anyway, Tinny Garagos was not allowed around Diddy anymore. Oh wow. My God, Miss Prissy said, let's go, beautiful. Let's MF and go. Thank y'all for the generous super chats and funding my little excursion. Also, Denisha Logan said, love these check-ins, Tisa. Defense seems to be really scrambling. Y'all, let me just say this while I'm doing my Law and Order. Sorry. Okay, it's right. But listen, I don't care what nobody says. I'm in the courtroom. I know a little bit about legal. Sherry D, thank you so much for the super chat. The defense is struggling. Let me just say this for anybody that doubts they are or not. The point of defense and cross-examination is to poke holes in the story. If I say I showed up on the courthouse in a black suit on a Friday afternoon, all right? The jury, unless you come back and give some reason why the jury won't believe me, it goes into the record. Your job in cross-examination is to be like, was it black or was it navy blue? It was black. That's funny, because where'd you get that suit from? I got it from Nordstrom. And what day did you buy it? I bought it on November 11th. And you bought it from Nordstrom, right? And then you say, presenting it to refresh your memory. What are you looking at? I hand you a piece of paper. What are you looking at? I'm looking at a receipt. What is the receipt for? It is for a dress, a suit I bought in Nordstrom. Does it have any other information? Yes. It says it's a Navy suit. To your recollection, is this your receipt for Nordstrom? Yes, it is. Your Honor, we'd like to admit this into evidence. What's admitted into evidence? The receipt for my Navy suit in Nordstrom. I just put, and then you say, is that the suit you're wearing today? Yes, it is. So you've established it's a navy blue suit. The whole point of a cross-examine is not to drop tea. It's not the shade. It's to attack everything that the other side said you did. Because when the prosecution said you did something, that is what's going to get you to go to jail. If the prosecution says you did something, then that is what's going to happen, okay? That's what's going to send you to jail. Diddy did nothing to refute, push back, or even poke holes in anything the prosecution said. He's just offering excuses as to why he did it. Now, the excuses to me are nonsensical, because in the court of law, and we are not talking about the shade room, no shade to the shade room, in a court... Oh, damn it. In the court of law, and this is very important to note, it does not matter. It does not matter if you were jealous or if somebody was cheating on you or this and that. You are not allowed to hit other people. You are not allowed to use drugs. You are not allowed to move around country with sex workers. It doesn't matter. You are not allowed. So what are we really talking about here, people? What are we really doing? All you did was give some Instagram shade. But you did nothing to further your defense. And today it's even worse. It's sloppy. It's all over the place. What are you trying to prove besides pouring Cassie's tea? And what is Cassie's tea? That she was seeing other men when you guys were on breaks? And also
he's still bitter.
So what is, sorry guys, I'm dropping stuff. What is Cassie's tea except for the fact that, and again, listen, of course I'm pro-victim, of course I'm pro-Cassie, but if there was something that wasn't good for Cassie, y'all know from my Tuesday report, I thought the prosecutors, Emily is the blonde, I thought she didn't do a good job, but Wednesday she completely redeemed herself and it was part of her plan. So I call it like I see it. I want Cassie to win. I want the people to win. However, if it's not going to look that way, I will 100% report that to y'all. My issue
so
with
that's
this
why
is
the attorneys can't do their job, because he up there still trying to
emphasis on sloppy job. Tabby Lynn, thank you so much for the super chat.
He don't realize he's over, y'all.
Tracy Sexy Juicy Lime Muffin said he's so under the gel and he doesn't even realize it. Great coverage. I hope you're able to stay through it. Oh, thank you. Dreamer, thank you for the super chat. And
he's still trying to manipulate.
As Diddy. Baby, not in the eyes of the law. And
so,
this is what I'm trying to...
Not in the eyes of the law.
Here's Edgar. Thank you so much for gifting a
I'm
membership.
trying to tell
Here's what I'm
people,
trying to
that's
tell
not how
people.
that
Lori
works.
Miller said, "Great job, Tisa. You're the real MVP." Thank you. Here's what I'm trying to say. Believe it, and it will be. Thank you so much for joining Entitled Talks family. Also, Honeybee Therapy said, "Keep up the reporting, love." And Tanya Bumpus said, "Thank you for the updated commentary." And T-Bone, thank you so much for that super chat. Okay, so listen, here's what I mean. People saying that Cassie is just as guilty as Diddy. For what? Shantae Cia said, "Thank you so much for clocking all the tea." How? What is she guilty of? What are the charges? I'm not talking about people's twisted moral codes where they believe that in a world where violence belongs in a relationship. And in a world, if a woman is a hoe, she's disposable and you can treat her like a rag doll. In a world that if you accept it, then I can do it. Just because you might accept that I can punch you in your face every night, punch you in your face every single night, does not mean that I accepted it. Anyway, Alejandro Aranda people, thank you so much for the super chat. Iris Parambahati said, "Have been waiting for to hear your report, Tisa." Oh my God, look. More options.
Yeah, they don't make it right.
Ideas for your bathroom.
That's why he going to jail. I see why a lot of people go to jail.
You guys, y'all see that? Look. There is a cute little bumblebee. Oh my God. Did y'all see that? There is a cute little furry. Hold on, let me see if I can stalk the bumblebee.
That look big. It look little to me.
Oh my God. There was a cute little furry bumblebee flying around. That's good luck. Carl Carlton said, "Best reporter ever. Great job reporting. Thank you." All right, let's get into this Jonathan Audi stuff, okay? Because this is going to blow your mind. Jackie Gomez says, "Thanks, girl, for all your hard work." And also T-Bone said, "I could use a laugh. Please say, Yana. Yana, my client does maintain his innocence." And also Tracy Andrews said, "Good morning, Tisa. I'm ready for the news today." And Roy Shelton, what's up? Okay, so let's get into the Jonathan Audi stuff because I'm going to have to come back down and go with all these other details. Y'all not got a minute. Let me get my notes out really quick. Oh, here we go. They asked her about Jonathan Audi, right? And they said that Audi was... Cassie said that Jonathan Audi was aggressive to her during free calls. But did he like that? But she did say that she always felt uncomfortable around him because during free calls, he was super, super aggressive with her. However, he was following Diddy's directive because Diddy directed all of it and he wanted Jonathan to be aggressive with her. Again, Cassie was not in control of the free calls. Everybody, even Diddy's team, agrees with that. Latrice Strong, thank you so much for the super chat. They said Cassie said she felt uncomfortable with Jonathan Audi's overall energy and vibe. Her overall energy and vibe, she felt super, super uncomfortable with, okay? She told Diddy about Jonathan Audi because she was like, "Yo, he's giving me weird vibes. I don't know." And he also said that, "Yo, I think Jonathan Audi was recording some parts of the freak off videos. I think he recorded me while we were having a freak off." So remember that guy in Jersey Sujit that was like, "Yo," she approached him and he was like, "Yo, I seen the freak off tapes." And she was like, "How did you see him? How did you see him?" He's like, yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Well, Cassie actually thought that Jonathan Audi had sold the freak off tape because he threatened to expose them. Jada Gemini said, "It hurts reading people be so ignorant about the case, but I commend you so much for your articulation and remaining focused on the facts." Baby, you know I'm going to ride a fact till the wheels come off. Bertie said, "Tisa, thank you for giving us in between the lines." Jai Jordan said, "Tisa, you're a real life doll. Thank you for all you do. Love you. Stay safe." And Sonia Jackson, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, hold on. Let me wrap this up because I got to go back in the corner. I got so much, even keep sending super chats, but I got so much tea to read. Okay, so she thought Audi was recording him. Now listen, she literally told Diddy, "Yo, he's recording us. What's going to go on?" Diddy said, "Yo, I'll take care of it." If you guys don't know, we were the first to break Jonathan Audi, but there was actually the NDA was actually leaked that shows Jonathan Audi is expected to testify in this trial. The prosecution has held the witness list very close to their heart, but it looks like the prosecution is going to release the witness list to the judge by Sunday at 5 p.m. The judge also said for moving forward, if there's any exhibits that the defense wants to add last minute, they are going to have to add them Sunday at 5 p.m. So it looks like we'll have the full witness list, and Jonathan Audi is expected to testify. Also, let's see, Deanna Armstead, thank you so much for the super chat, the cash app. And Sonia C said, "Keep up the good work." Thank you so much. So anyway, hold on, Jonathan Audi. Diddy said he promised to take care of it. There is proof that Diddy settled with Jonathan Oddie. Jonathan Oddie's wife did an interview where she confirmed our investigation that said he had negative 1,800 before the trial started, before the NDA was signed, and then after he went and bought 4 luxury properties, all cash in buying sprees, okay? They also talked about Darren. He's the owner of Cowboys and Angels. If you want more about Cowboys and Angels, actually pretty funny. I did a live call. We found Diddy's free golf supplier. I found that 2 years ago from my investigative reporting. Cassie and the government have confirmed, and I actually put pictures of their favorite male SMEX workers up on the screen and give y'all more besides the scene information. Hold on, there's more Jonathan Oddie stuff. Now get this, right? Diddy said he'll take care of it. I guess the way he took care of that was really settling with Jonathan Oddie. Caroline in Ultra Level said, Tisa, you're my inspiration. Thank y'all so much. And also Sterling Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. So then, get this. Jonathan Oddie threatened to show the video to the world, right? And asked and stated by an attorney. Oddie's, no, they said, no. So that's what it is. Diddy's attorney said, but Jonathan Oddie threatened to show the video to the world. And the attorney asked Cassie, and Cassie stated, I'm not aware of him threatening to show the world, but I am aware of the fact that he actually recorded us secretly. Now get this, Jonathan Oddie, in his confession, because I put that on my YouTube a while back, but in his confession, Jonathan Oddie already clapped back on that. Jonathan Oddie said that one time they were having a freak off. This goes to the fact that Diddy kept Cassie coked up and doped up, right? Had a freak off, and Cassie like blacked out, right? They said Cassie completely passed out. Funny how Diddy's trying to say Cassie turned him out, when at the end of the day, Cassie was the one blacking out. Cassie was the one doing this. Cassie was the one that went to rehab. Diddy never went to rehab. He never even went to therapy. Anyway, Jonathan Oddie said that she did pass out, but he recorded it to make sure that Sean Diddy Combs didn't blame him for murking Cassie. Yes, he did it so that Sean Diddy Combs did not blame him for murking Cassie. Listen, Just said, did the lady shot in the face by Diddy a possible witness? You guys are talking about Natanya. We do not know. The witnesses have to be quiet. We do not know.
Her name is Tisa.
I do know that whoever else, Aubrey's testifying. That's no big deal. I think there's this other girl.
But Lucinda, Lucinda, precious, I don't mind. Hold on, baby girl. Hold on. I don't mind you asking me about that, but did you come in and speak? Did you speak to the house? Okay, so what I'm going to do for you is remove this and allow you the opportunity to come in respectfully. And then we'll move forward. Okay? Respect the house, baby. Respect the house. You don't ever go in somebody's house and not speak, do you? Support the platform.
I don't want to put her name out there until I'm sure. I'll talk about it later. I'm going to come back later and go live. Make sure you turn your notifications on. I'm probably going to be out here like in another hour and a half, 2 hours to give y'all the tea. But anyway, Samalu said, will Ali Carter be a witness? Listen, the witness list is being released, well, not released, but being given to the judge Sunday at 5 p.m. And that should be published to the public on Monday. Linda Arnold, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, Chantel Renee said, Team Tisa, go DJ. Anyway, Shannon Hill said, thank you for gifting a membership. Also, Kawasaki Kid said, Tisa is the GOAT. And Miss Prissy, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Y'all please thank the people that are gifting the memberships. We also have Lindsay J saying, keep up the good reporting. Okay, so what else can I tell you before I go? They were letting us know all Cassie's business. She actually in 2023 went to a rehab facility, Willow House. It was 45-day treatment. There was no contact rules, so she couldn't really talk to her family. Cassie is on Suboxone and Bupropion. Those are opioid addiction drugs to make sure it breaks. It's like you take it because you don't want your opioid addiction. She's still on that. She's been on it since 2022. It doesn't make you high, but it stops your cravings for opioids. She said she started writing her book during her stay at Willow House. And they asked her, well, did you get treated for sex addiction, sexual compulsion, love addiction? Because, there's all this stuff talking about Cassie was a freak. She was a doink addict. She was addicted. The people that just got like ashy ankles and dirty Timbs on, man or woman. Cassie was a freak. Cassie, but let me stop before y'all catch me in the wintertime with some dirty Timbs on and ashy ankles and be like, Anyway, right?
You still didn't speak though.
Cassie, and
I see you have a platform and you still didn't speak.
Diddy is mad. He's trying to ruin Cassie's reputation. But baby, you can't ruin a reputation with someone that has more. It's going to end up having more money in this world than you do. Because Cassie got 20 million, and Ninja, by the time the feds are done, it was a federal foreclosure, forfeiture.
When? I don't see no high AunTeaFee.
Anyway, Cassie stood on that stand and said, no. I didn't get treated.
Best and worst dinner for your waistline. Sweet potato.
If you say so.
To find the purple sweet.
Anyway, Cassie stood on that stand and said, no, I didn't get treated for any of that. So Diddy looked crushed because he's been trying to get that narrative out that he wasn't behind the freak offs, but Cassie just wanted the freak off so bad. What was he going to do? She was an addict, y'all. He said, no, I never got treated for that. None of that is true. I don't know what you are talking about, right? The legendary Kind, thank you so much for gifting the membership. Also, let me go before the super chats leave the screen. Jennifer Shaviva?
No, I don't.
Shavira, thank you so much for gifting the membership. Make sure y'all thank the super chats. Let me just get through these before I get back into.
I see who is the lady speaking.
Trial. Who else? So, also, Slowrilla, thank you so much for the super chat. And Natalie said, go girl, thank you for your time and humor. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, so, right?
Welcome.
Also, let's see. Okay, so anyway, she said that she didn't have any of that, right? Then the judge got mad and called everybody over. I was like, let me talk to y'all for a second, right? Then they completely abandoned that line of questioning because why are you trying to push something that's not there? Diddy was with that girl for so long, he just assumed she was a freak a week and she ain't had no problems. Shannon Hill, thank you so much for the super chat. Cassie said she has neurofeedback therapy. It's when she said you hook the brain to the machine and watch something 5 to 6 times. She did it once a week. She said there was psychodrama at the rehab facility, but she didn't participate in it. B. Roland Van Noy, thank you so much for the super chat. And Lux Infinity said, you are YouTube's MVP. Thank you. Also, she said she did MDNR therapy. She did MDNR therapy. Hold on, I got a few more notes. MDMR therapy. She said that she did that for like a few days. Also, she said that, she said in 2013, Diddy took her phone, her car, her passport whenever he was angry, right? A sister from New Jersey, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate y'all. She said she doesn't remember Diddy ever being in rehab. Right? She said he could have gone to Sedona. It's a place in Arizona. There was a lot of vortexes. Amy Smith Hightower, thank you so much for the super chat. She also said that Diddy accused her of dancing with Chris Brown. He was high out of his mind. She never danced with Chris Brown. He said he accused her of having an affair with the NFL player, but it wasn't an affair. They were on a break. Sam Jr., thank you so much for the super chat. Let me tell you something that's actually coming out in Diddy's cross-examination, which is very damning. It shows that Diddy never, whether he cheated on her, whether they were together or not, Diddy never looked at Cassie as a human. In his mind, she had no right to ever feel the touch of another man. She had no right to be out for a friend. She had no right to do anything and live a life outside of him. And he thought that whenever he wasn't around,
because he got her when she was a teenager. He started his grooming her as a kid. So in his mind, he was going to control her, dominate her, abuse her, pimp her, everything. Because by the time she grown, she would have been totally groomed and a worker and not interested in nobody else. So that's how he felt. And he still feels this way. He on trial, still sending notes and shit, still trying to question her, still trying to bring it out to make her out to look like she is a hoe. Now, I'm not saying she ain't. I ain't saying she is. What I am saying is you got her as a kid. She was 19. And when you got her and put your lips on her without, you know, her okaying it, you just did it. She wasn't expecting it. It was a surprise to her. It was a surprise to her. And then you ate her cookie. Okay? I'm going to always go back right there. And when you ate her cookie, it had never been done before. She didn't have that type of experience. She didn't have a lot of experience. She didn't have them miles on her. She didn't even know what to do. She said she didn't even know what to do. Okay? So if she is a thought, she wasn't one as a teenager. So everything that she is right now, that's because that's what you molded her. You groomed her into being. So that's why I'm not going to go along with people saying she just a thought. She just money hungry. And she may be. That's what he groomed her to be. That's what predators do. Yeah. That's what predators do. Let's go.
Supposed to sit on the shelf like a doll and then just stay there until he was ready to play with her again. Diddy's team, and I want to say this 100%, is proving nothing. It's about to start raining, and y'all know I was fighting with the rain last week. Diddy's team, Tara,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for the super chat.
You Diddy's right, chill, Miller.
Absolutely.
That was the plan.
Nothing. And again, I don't care that you told me that she has
I gotta pause again, because chill, Miller. Now you done tapped into something and you are absolutely correct. That is exactly what they was gonna do to Aaliyah. Right. She was 15. She was 15 when Ira Kelly married her. Okay? Who had her first? Did Ira have her before Jay-Z? She was at them parties. She was passed around. And folks started saying, well, Leah, but she was a house. She was with Ira. She was with Jay-Z. I think Diddy had her. Some other people had her. And then Dame Dash had her. They passed her around. She was a house. They was grooming her. They groomed her. Her mama, her uncle, you know, Gladys Knight, ex-husband. Yeah, they all sold her for the industry. They pimped her. The pimping, let's be clear, started at home first. Yeah. We're going to call a spade, baby. We don't sugarcoat over here. We're going to tell the truth and shame the devil. That's why AunTeaFee hate that rug. Okay? So the pimping started at home. The first betrayal started in-house. Yeah. Because wasn't it rumored that the mama slept with Ira too? She wanted to know what her daughter was going to get into. I wasn't supposed to say that. Yeah. we gonna call a spade a spade. We gonna learn that there is healing in telling the truth and shaming the devil, baby. And sometimes when we have to tell the truth and shame the devil, sometimes we are exposing our own loved ones. And we're going to call it what it is. They betrayed her. I'm talking about Aaliyah. They betrayed her. They used her. They pimped her. They pimped her first. So that's why I have a problem with Usher mama. Because she should have known better. Okay? So you are absolutely right. Some of the same people groomed Aaliyah for the same reasons. And at any point you don't agree or you have questions or you trying to back out of what you done got yourself into, somehow you mysteriously pass away. Let's go. She made it through. She made it through without being taken out.
I don't care if women are hoes. Okay, God gave me this body to do with it what I will. Diddy does it like tries to make us feel like because Cassie
bless your
was
heart,
disrespecting him and
Judy.
dating a celebrity, she had a right to get her butt kicked. Even
Well,
though they weren't even together.
Chill, they say,
it's ridiculous.
Uncle
SS, new
Smokey
subscriber, appreciate your reporting.
next.
Much love from Maryland. Much love
But he
from
next.
you, SS, to you.
He coming
SS
too.
My whole point of the matter is, listen, y'all, don't believe the hype. This cross-examination is going horrible for Diddy, and it's going so bad that the prosecution said, you know what? Y'all can cross-examine Cassie till 4:30, and we'll just take the last 30 minutes. And Diddy's team was looking stuck because Diddy's team wanted to have the last word. That means no matter what Diddy's team says, the last 30 minutes, prosecution is going to go in and rehabilitate everything and clear up every miscommunication and lie that Diddy's team ever tried to put in. Also, Dr. Julia Dinley, leadership life coach, said, God bless you. Your gift will make room. Thank you. And Judy Bradley said, the bumblebee represents focus, dedication, and hard work. Tisa, bold with justice, bright, a flame that cuts through the darkest night. I love you all. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, I think
that bumblebee was
Cassie is
so cute.
pretty strong
You
too.
said,
I'm
God
glad she
bless
got
you. Your
help.
gift will make room. Thank you so much, Miss Julia Daniely, leadership life coach. I see that's why you're doing it. And yes, I think that is what the bumblebee represents. It's literally so cute and chubby, just flying over to me. Randy Updike said, thank you for all your hard work and reporting. And Linda Martinez, thank you so much for the super chat. Anyway, you guys, I have a bunch of other notes. I need to go back up to the courtroom and see what is going on. But I promise y'all, right? Oh, wait, hold on really quick. I promise y'all that I'll be back in about an hour and a half and two, and I might even have a nice little, live in between and a few videos. Marilyn Belcher, thank you so much for the super chat. And Mo Better said, enjoy your recaps. Keep going. Thank you very much. Anyway, you guys, let me get out of here. I got so much work to do. I will see y'all in about an hour or two. All right?
Let's see if she had an update since then.
Yes, these are my real lashes.
And Miss don't work. Let me see. Let's see what she say here.
It's for you again, but I'm not going to that. But y'all, the Cassie's 2018 story, her rape story was called into question on the stand. Baby, I gotta be honest with you, because I call shit as big. This is not good. I know a lot of people yesterday were saying Diddy's team needed to be done. That was lies and nonsense. They were not doing what needed to be done yesterday. But today, when I came back from break, Cassie's whole story fell apart. And you guys, it is crazy. Okay, so,
her story fell apart. Hold on.
Cassie told on the trial. It's for you again, but I'm not going to step. But y'all, the Cassie's 2018 story, her rape story was called into question on the stand. And baby, I gotta be honest with you, I call shit as big. This is not good. I know a lot of people yesterday were saying Diddy's team needed to be done. That was lies and nonsense. They were not doing what needed to be done yesterday. But today, when I came back from break, Cassie's whole story fell apart.
Okay.
And you guys, it is crazy. Okay, so what actually happened, okay? Cassie told the story yesterday about what Diddy did to her, the way that she felt, like she was taken advantage of, the way she felt that she told this man to stop, and he did not stop, and all this stuff. You guys, this is breaking news, and I really don't know what to do about it, okay? Because I gotta be fair. I gotta talk about when the defense has a win. I know we all went Diddy in jail, but we gotta talk about when the defense has a win. The defense had a huge win today, and I mean huge win today, in the fact that they didn't press Cassie, they didn't confront Cassie, they didn't do anything with Cassie, but what they did do with Cassie is literally just say, you know what happened in 2018? Be great. Okay, that happened. And 2 days later, she sent him a text with a heart. After that, they were saying, I love you, I miss you. I took notes. It was bad. Listen, Diddy asked to see her. She said, good morning, I'm confused, right? They had her out there looking crazy. Oh, thank you, Glimmer Girl. Listen, they had her out there looking crazy. Now, let me just say this. I do think that they are going to get a specialist that is involved in sex trafficking. They're going to get a specialist that is involved in the way victims of this type of stuff and PTSD react. This could be a trauma response. Sorry, Sorry about that. This could be a trauma response, but at the end of the day, nobody really knows what it is. I'm whispering because I'm on the steps. It is raining. I don't have an umbrella, and I don't feel like them telling me to get off the steps, so I film it, okay? Now, it could be a trauma response. It could be anything. However, she did say that she was raped. She ended up sleeping with Diddy one time after that. We know that. But the thing that they didn't know is they introduced text messages that the prosecution did not have. And those text messages do not paint a good picture. Those text messages show the story of someone that it's not adding up. Now, that said, there are a lot of women and men that are raped by their partners or by their bosses or whoever, and they still stay close to that person, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but let's get into these facts, right? Listen, they said that she was on the beach walking. She texted him like, oh my God, I'm on the beach walking with my dad. Literally, she's like, yo, have fun with your yoga teacher. And he was like, what's that supposed to mean? And Cassie said that she thought that he was sleeping with the yoga teacher. And Diddy was like, she said, he was like, he's like, I'm not dating anyone. And she's like, you've been going with dates all along. This is now like a week after the rape. She said, I actually need to stop caring. No, Diddy said, I actually need to stop caring. And he then told Diddy then told Cassie, if you're dating other people, let's talk about it. Okay? But you guys, it gets even deeper. Again, I see now why they wanted that expert witness, because this is the most disturbing thing, right? When I say that Cassie was caught lying, I still believe her story. My issue is the jury. Cassie lost the jury. There was a woman on the second row. She was a black woman, okay? And she seemed to be running stuff. I think she actually might be like a foreman that's like the jury whip that like keeps everybody in line, right? Cassie was talking, and these inconsistencies in her story were exposed, and the girl was just shaking her head. When Cassie was talking about, basically, she was talking to Diddy, and I'll tell you in a second, talking to Diddy, while she was talking to Alex, I'm going to tell you what was said. There were men on the jury. 4 men on the jury while she was testifying was just shaking their head in disgust. Ashley SV said, I hope Ali Carter shows up to testify. Now, you guys, listen. It's really, really important to know. It's really, really important to know that Cassie, was, how do I say this? I don't know. I'm going to get kicked off the steps. I'm going to have to act like I'm talking to my mom. So it's really important to know. Cassie wasn't trying to cut ties with Diddy after she was raped. If anything, they were maybe discussing coming back and giving things a second chance. Now, I know when you are a victim of rape, that could mean something, that could not mean something. It could be a lot of things. The whole point of the matter is, yeah, exactly. What's more, the men on the jury were shaking their head. You never want to lose the jury. Now, I did talk to people that are very, very close to the case, and they said, listen, it's okay. There is no perfect victim. That's why we have an abuse person that's an expert in abuse to actually speak and explain this behavior. The prosecution has not done the redirect. They did tell me something interesting, right? Chris Hollins, greeting from Ireland. What's up, Chris Hollins? But here's the thing. My contacts did say this. Even though in the media, we look at Cassie as the star witness, Cassie is not the star witness of the Diddy trial. They said Gina wasn't the star witness. That's why when she said she wasn't,
I think it's Jonathan.
Okay, you ain't got to testify. Neither Cassie nor Gina were the star witnesses in the John Diddy Combs trial. So they said that even though this testimony is not the best look for Cassie, and this just happened not even 5 minutes ago, even though it's not the best look for Cassie, their case is still strong, and they got 8 more weeks of people, and they said it is deeper than the Frickles, and it's deeper than Cassie. They think they have Diddy dead to rights. They think that they have Diddy dead to rights, okay? And listen. In any case, listen. Cassie isn't on trial. It doesn't matter. Listen, you guys know I ride out for Cassie. I still believe her. I'm just saying that this testimony was very, very confusing. And Cassie is going to have... I'm going to talk as close as possible. Cassie is going to have to redeem herself from that. Elle, thank you so much for the super chat. All right? They said, Diddy... Listen, now here's the thing how you know that it wasn't good for Cassie. The baby oil and banners were standing up straight, literally getting excited, writing notes. They thought they had Cassie just right. Diddy's somebody that wasn't really showing.
The baby, what?
Somebody that has been avoiding Cassie's eyes for the last 2 days. Now he was sitting back looking arrogant again because he thinks, oh, that's another thing. The text messages that were exposed, the prosecution had no idea about them, but the judge still let it be admitted because they were relevant. Amanda said, I love your enthusiasm and real-time updates. Anyway,
yeah, that's not right.
Listen. Diddy said, so Diddy texted Cassie, I don't want a combo where you break up with me again, right? Cassie said, I do love you, but I don't want to just be your girlfriend. So again, this goes to the point that she was pushing for something more. She wanted to be a wife. Okay, fine. So at the end of the day, and there's another thing. People with trauma, yes, you trauma bond, Stockholm syndrome. There's some people that have been kidnapped from kids that said they wanted to be with the kidnapper, not their actual parents they were taken from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They said on 9/16, Diddy, on 9/16, Cassie texted him, okay, but Cassie asked for a hug. And Diddy is like, can I hold you or are you just going to break up with me again? And Cassie was like, oh, can I hug you? Can I hug you? And she's like, okay, I just wanted a hug, but I understand how you feel. Cassie literally told Diddy that, yes, he can hold her. He can hug her. Hold on, let me put my other stuff away, right? Listen, Mommy Heather said, thank you for covering this from the very beginning. This is emotional. It's super emotional. And again, you guys, and let me be clear, I do not think Cassie's lying. I do think that there is an explanation for this, explanation for the inconsistencies. I do know that it looks like Cassie lost the jury a little bit. I also do know that Cassie is not the star witness, but she is 100% an important witness, and it looks like Cassie actually lost the jury, okay? Listen, so then Diddy was trying to get Cassie to come over so they could talk about the relationship. Seems like he wanted to reconcile. You guys, this is literally a week and a half after the alleged rape, okay? Cassie said, I'm not trying to be mean. Even showing up at the house will F up my mind, right? So I'm choosing my sanity. She said, I'm choosing my sanity. I'm finally sleeping well and gaining weight. You have no idea what that means. Crystal, thank you so much for the super chat. You said, especially on your own. Also, Diane Landers, thank you so much. You said, love your reporting, so much information. Sorry about the noise in the background, but I'm on the steps and it is raining and I don't feel, y'all know, I don't need this phone getting drowned. This is not a waterproof case. Marie M said, you're killing it out there on the mean streets of New York. She said, sending good vibes from Oakland. Thank you so much, Marie. Okay, so anyway, right? Diddy said to Cassie, I respect your sanity. I won't link up, right? So anyway, Cassie then said, I was really looking forward to that hug, but okay. She was disappointed that she couldn't see Diddy again, but she was trying to lure Diddy to come see her. Get this, right? Now listen, I made notes. I said, listen, this is bad. But lots of women, listen.
They do it all the time.
Lots of women get raped and still continue with their accuser, you know? But yeah, there are some inconsistencies in Cassie's story. Slainer said, Tisa, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for all you do. I swear if I had money, I would send you more. This is my appreciation for your hard work. Slainer, thank you so much for that. And baby, I'm just glad that you guys are all here just rocking with me. Also, right? Listen. And here's the thing, I literally kept saying to myself, how did prosecution let this get through? How did the prosecution let this get through? How were they not prepared? But I guess the sheet made those statements and it was shared with Diddy. Anyway, Tony and Martin, thank you so much for the super chat, right? Also, on September 27, 2018, she actually they went out to a friend's dinner together. She was seeing Alex. This is what made the men on the jury shake their head. She went out to the thing. She was seeing Alex, right? And they had a great night. They were vibing, Diddy and Cassie, and she had sex with Cassie. Get this. They said, Alex, Snow White said, you're bringing in hugs. Sorry, I'm talking so low. But you know,
Alex?
I'm trying not to get cut off these steps, and it is raining, and I don't want to be kicked out in the rain, okay? Anyway, they said that she had sex with Diddy, okay? They said Alex FaceTimed her during sex and said they said Alex FaceTimed her. Cassie said she doesn't remember if she was intimate with Diddy at that moment or if it happened afterwards. She said Diddy texted her and said he had a great night that Alex didn't know. She said, I don't know if Alex knew or not.
Who is Alex?
Discovered, they said, and then the defense asked what happened when Alex discovered that you slept Diddy. And Cassie said, I don't know if Alex ever discovered that. I don't know what's going on. Again, the point of this to paint Cassie as a, paint Cassie as a ho, and to get the jury on his side. Again, it confronts and concerns me that when the 4 men on the jury, it concerns me that when the 4 men on the jury heard all this, they just shook their head and let it go. Now, they said, but you told your husband, right?
Oh, her husband.
Listen. They told the husband that Amber Diaz said, watching every day from Ontario, Canada.
Were they married then?
Lord knows you could probably use it, killing it out there. I'm trying to stay quiet so I don't get kicked off the steps. Snow White, thank you so much again. Also, who else? Sherry Betty, thank you so much for the super chat. And Mama Heather said, you're directly under a camera, babe. Look out. Oh, that's fine. It's fine. I'm not like, I look like I'm FaceTiming. It's fine. And somebody's under a camera. Yes, I am. Okay, so, right? Also, they said, thanks, guys. So anyway, can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Listen, they said, did you tell your husband that you got raped? They said when Alex found out, he punched a wall, right? And again, it was a friend's restaurant. Diddy asked her that, said he'd fall back. Cassie kept texting him, I miss you. I'm so heartbroken. I'm so heartbroken. I feel lost without you. The jury was shaking their head. The black woman in the second row, she was like, she didn't like that at all. Listen, she seems to, Diddy's attorneys at that point seemed to be leading. Again, at that moment, Cassie lost that jury. It's literally, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Can you guys actually hear me? No, you guys can hear me. If not, I'm trying to go live at different places. Okay, y'all can hear me? Okay, good. Okay. So, Cassie was trying to negotiate some type of meetup with Diddy, right? She said, but anyway, get this. They bring up Jim Porter's funeral. She says, I didn't just leave you. I guess Diddy was like, you just left me. What happened? She said, I didn't just leave you. I said bye. You want my support. But Gina then said, but you want my support, but Gina was there. So, of course, Diddy was Diddy and had Cassie, Gina, everybody there.
He had them all there.
She said, you then said Kim was your soulmate. So if you said Kim was your soulmate, then what was I supposed to do, right? They also said they had text where Cassie accused the babysitter named Nikki of sleeping with Diddy, right? After that, Cassie said she never saw Diddy again at all. They said, but Diddy tried to stay in touch. They said, how through? They said through Lower London and through the Young T Nash. That's Traff's stylist. What was that?
So after Kim Porter's funeral,
Cassie said she never saw him again. And they were like, so he let you go? And Cassie's like, no, he didn't let me go, but I never saw him again, right? On top of that, again, they were not feeling Cassie. Sorry, guys. I'm messing with my notes. They were not feeling Cassie with the jury at all, right? At all. There's a little bit, few more notes I have. Let me just get to it, right? They have an April 19th text messages between Cassie and Diddy. Cassie did not want to do a freak-off. However, they're trying to... Hold on, guys. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? What about now?
Mm-hmm.
What about now? Can y'all hear me? Yes? Yes, this is the best I could do. Can y'all hear me? Wait, can y'all hear me or not? Can you hear me? No? It's static? All right, listen, I'm going to go off live and try to go back on in a few minutes, okay? I got to go.
Oh, hold on. Oh, my goodness. I wasn't expecting that. I thought she was still. Why they tell her? We could hear her. Hold on. Okay, let me see. Okay, that's it for her today. I mean, right now. Let me go to whatever. Hold on. me see. Let's go.
Now, those images were not shown to the public inside the courtroom or to people watching in an overflow courtroom, but they were shown to jurors, and printed copies were provided to defense counsel and the judge. At one point, Sean Combs sitting at the defense table asking his lawyer if he could see the binder.
Please hit the like button.
5 images from these videos of freak-offs.
Okay, so this one won't let me go backwards. Hold on.
Now, later in the trial, it is expected that those videos will be played.
He got his red ball on. Hold on.
Meaning that the public will not
hey, Cooley.
see them. Prosecutors arguing that they essentially amount to a form of
yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to that one.
engaging in sex in these videos. Nonetheless, they are central.
Hold on. He won't let me go back.
At Freddy's, we put a little extra effort into every steak burger we make. The brisket and our new barbecue brisket.
Because Combs would spend holidays with her, even actually now. So the judge said that by end of day Friday, cross-examination and redirect from the prosecution has to be wrapped up. Now, husband, and this is the only
Sex trafficking trial.
be nasty for you, Ventura remanded the defense essentially for taking too long with their cross-examination. The judge said that there was a pre-arrangement of sorts that Cassie Ventura would be done with her testimony by end of this week. The reason? Well, she's pregnant, and she's very pregnant. Cassie Ventura can literally go into labor any day now. So the judge said that by end of day Friday, cross-examination and redirect from the prosecution has to be wrapped up. Now, Combs' defense said she is the most critical witness, and this is a very important case. Their client, of course, is facing life in prison.
He's still trying. He got bigger fish to fry.
Attorneys for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their
But
cross-examination.
he still want to attack her.
Trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous sex parties. Cassie Ventura faced a tough interrogation on Thursday. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmaster has details on day 4 of Diddy's racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York.
Each character and each actor that came into the project brought their own thing to the table.
A 21-year-old Cassie Ventura in 2008 promoting the film Step Up 2.
Oh my God, there's an overwhelming.
Oh, so she was an
experience,
actress.
but, exciting all at the same time.
During day 1 of cross-examination, she was asked about her budding relationship and emails with Sean Combs from that same
It's like I
year.
thought Cassie
When Combs said,
was
"I
a
love
pretty
you,
girl
I miss
who
you, can't wait to
looks
hold you,"
always allowed her to
Ventura
get her way
responded,
with men,
"I'm a very lucky woman.
but became
I miss you so
jealous of
much.
Junior.
I'd fly wherever you needed me." The defense building its case that Ventura was a willing participant and enjoyed the so-called freak-offs, or long drug-fueled sex sessions involving male escorts, she says were orchestrated by Combs. In 2009, when Combs messaged asking if she wanted to freak off, Ventura replied, "I'm always ready to freak off, LOL. I just want it to be uncontrollable," Ventura said, referring to sex with the escort. "I can't wait. That's why I want to see," Combs responded. Later that year, when Combs emailed, "I want to be nasty for you," Ventura replied,
For you.
"In order for me to be
Not
more
for
open
herself.
with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home. This is my husband, and this is the only man that
Husband.
will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me."
Husband.
When asked by the defense if this showed open communication between the two, Ventura
Husband.
said, "I would say." But the prosecution says this video from 2016 showing Combs assaulting Ventura as she says she tried to flee a freak-off proves the relationship devolved into abuse and control. Still, A year after that assault, the defense noted Ventura said this to Combs in 2017. "I love our freak-offs when we both want it." Ventura saying on the stand that the text was just words at that point, echoing her previous testimony of feeling trapped and afraid of Combs's rages. The defense also argued that jealousy played a role in the volatile relationship, with Ventura writing, "I'm nervous that I'm just becoming the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off of, and that's it."
I just miss Kim, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Combs'
He
time
missed
with
Kim.
the late Kim Porter,
Oh,
the
wow.
mother of 4 of his children, and other women also came up. Ventura testifying she has some jealousy of Miss Porter because Combs would spend holidays with her even though they had split up. Their fights over infidelity were a little scary, she said. In 2011, she dated rapper Kid Cudi while on a break from Combs. "I thought it would be way too dangerous to tell him about that," she said. But Combs lunged at her, she says, after finding Kid
He was
Cudi's
jealous
name in her
too.
phone during a freak
Preston, what about
which
that?
still went on during breaks in their relationship because it was a job, Ventura said.
Now, there was actually a heated moment in court when the judge reprimanded the defense essentially for taking too long with their cross-examination. The judge said that there was a prearrangement of sorts that Cassie Ventura would be done with her testimony by end of this week. The reason? Well, she's pregnant, and she's very pregnant. Cassie Ventura can literally go into labor any day now. So the judge said that by end of day Friday, cross-examination and redirect from the prosecution has to be wrapped up. Now, Combs' defense said she is the most critical witness, and this is a very important case. Their client, of course, is facing life in prison if convicted. Back to you.
Defense lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their cross-examination of his former girlfriend on Friday, trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous sex parties. Cassie Ventura faced a tough interrogation Thursday. CNN's Elizabeth YOGOTTI has more details now on day 4 of Diddy's racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York.
Each character and each actor that came into the project brought their own thing to the table.
A 21-year-old Cassie Ventura in 2008 promoting the film Step Up 2.
Oh my gosh, it was an overwhelming experience, but exciting all at the same time.
During day 1 of cross-examination, she was asked about her budding relationship and emails with Sean Combs from that same year. When Combs said, "I love you, I miss you, can't wait to hold you," Ventura responded, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you needed me." The defense building its case that Ventura was a willing participant and enjoyed the so-called freak-offs, or long drug-fueled sex sessions involving male escorts, she says were orchestrated by Combs. In 2009, when Combs messaged asking if she wanted to freak off, Ventura replied, "I'm always ready to freak off, LOL. I just want it to be uncontrollable," Ventura said, referring to sex with the escort. "I can't wait. That's why I want to see," Combs responded. Later that year, when Combs emailed, "I want to be nasty for you," Ventura replied, "In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home. This is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me." When asked by the defense if this showed open communication between the two, Ventura said, "I would say." But the prosecution says this video from 2016 showing Combs assaulting Ventura as she says she tried to flee a freak-off proves the relationship devolved into abuse and control. Still, a year after that assault, the defense noted Ventura sent this to Combs in 2017. "I love our freak-offs when we both want it." Ventura saying on the stand that the text was just words at that point, echoing her previous testimony of feeling trapped and afraid of Combs's rages. The defense also argued that jealousy played a role in the volatile relationship, with Ventura writing, "I'm nervous that I'm just becoming the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off of, and that's it."
I just miss Kim, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Combs' time with the late Kim Porter, the mother of 4 of his children, and other women also came up. Ventura testifying she has some jealousy of Miss Porter because Combs would spend holidays with her even though they had split up. Their fights over infidelity were a little scary, she said.
In 2011, she dated rapper Kid Cudi while on a break from Combs. I thought it would be way too dangerous to tell him about that, she said. But Combs lunged at her, she says, after finding Kid Cudi's name in her phone during a freak-off, which still went on during breaks in their relationship because it was a job, Ventura said.
Now, there was actually a heated moment in court when the judge reprimanded the defense essentially for taking too long with their cross-examination. The judge said that there was a prearrangement of sorts that Cassie Ventura would be done with her testimony by end of this week. The reason? Well, she's pregnant, and she's very pregnant. Cassie Ventura can literally go into labor any day now. So the judge said that by end of day Friday, cross-examination and redirect from the prosecution has to be wrapped up. Now, Combs' defense said she is the most critical witness, and this is a very important case. Their client, of course, is facing life in prison if convicted. Back to you.
Defense attorneys for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their cross-examination of his former girlfriend, trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous sex parties. Cassie Ventura faced a tough interrogation on Thursday. CNN's Elizabeth Waglester has details on day 4 of Diddy's racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York.
Each character and each actor that came into the project brought their own thing to the table.
A 21-year-old Cassie Ventura in 2008, promoting the film Step Up 2.
Oh my gosh, it was an overwhelming experience, but exciting all at the same time.
During day 1 of cross-examination, she was asked about her budding relationship and emails with Sean Combs from that same year. When Combs said, "I love you, I miss you, can't wait to hold you,"
Are they
Ventura
repeating the same
responded,
stuff over
"I'm a
and
very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you need."
Hold on.
The defense, Combs' defense said she is the most critical witness, and this is a very important case. Their client, of course, is facing life in prison if convicted. Back to you.
Defense attorneys for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their cross-examination of his former girlfriend, trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous sex parties.
Go into labor in order if convicted.
She was a model, she was an actress, she was a singer, she was tremendously talented by her own right, she was well-resourced in her own right, and so therefore he wasn't compelling her to do so. And then finally, right, you're going to talk about not only those issues, but the critical issues relating to the enterprise, right? What does she know about how he was conducting his business? Certainly it was a legitimate branding business. It was a business that certainly was one that was generational. And if you look at the coercion issue, final point, that is, listen, the end of the day, there were these text messages and emails showing that not only is it related to these sexual escapades and freak-off parties was she a participant, but in fact she helped to orchestrate it. So that defeats the issue of coercion. It defeats the issue of you're compelling, and it makes her and him having a freaky sex life, but morality is not on trial, criminality is. And so that's what the defense needs to do when it's pushed back in its cross-examination.
From what you've heard to date, how would you assess this is going?
So, you know, it's always an open question, right? It's the issue is really, you know, we can hear things that the jury sometimes doesn't hear, right? We can view things that the jury doesn't view. Why do I say that? Because at the end of the day, remember, there are 12 jurors. And with those 12 jurors, they have to be, right, unanimous. Every one of them has to find guilt. If any one of them says, hey, I'm not convinced, you have a hung jury. Doesn't mean he gets off. It means you have to do it again. Will the government do that? You have 6 alternates, of course. So whenever we talk about how it's going, it really doesn't matter what you think, what I think, what reporters think, what the media thinks. It matters what the jurors are thinking.
Absolutely.
And again, I think the core issues, if you can pound away on the fact that, look, this issue with this violence and everything else, it was really triggered by his drug use. And they both used drugs, right? If the jury buys that and says that was because of that and not because he was just this beast of a human being and it was a one-off, then perhaps you get them to overlook that. Domestic violence for sure, but that's what's not on trial, right? Racketeering is on trial. Sexual exploitation is on trial. So that's number one. Number two, if you get the jury to say it's a long-term relationship and it might have been immoral, it may have been something, you know, no one else would subscribe to that's on the jury, but it was how they lived their life. And she she was enthusiastic about it and she was on board with it and she was all with it, then you know what? Hey, that's not a crime. And so really it depends upon what the defense is able to do in terms of painting the picture of a couple that had a complex relationship. It was predicated upon really salacious things, but were those salacious things criminal? And that is what the essence of the case is all about, an enterprise that was really done for sexual exploitation. And if the jurors say, hey, you guys are just some strange individuals who live life that way, may not be my choice, may not be anybody else's choice, it was yours, that takes it in the realm of a sex case, right? That is not coercion, not sex trafficking, just pretty freaky. And so that's what they really have to hone in on, the defense does, if they have any hope of defeating these charges.
Yeah, but any time she says she don't want to do it.
Defense lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their cross-examination of his former girlfriend on Friday, trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous...
I mean, it's sensational, right? She provides a lot of information that's helpful to prosecute. A hung jury doesn't mean he get
On Friday, with prosecutors expressing concern that the heavily pregnant Ventura could give birth as soon as the weekend. His former girlfriend has so far testified for almost 15 hours over 3 days, with yesterday's proceedings focusing on text exchanges between the pair, talking about so-called freak-offs. Well, let's bring in CNN's legal analyst, Joey Jackson. What can we expect from today's cross-examination, Joey?
Yeah, so this witness is very, it's sensational, right? She provides a lot of information that's helpful to prosecutors, like what? Remember, it's a racketeering charge. That means in English that he ran a criminal enterprise, he being Sean Puffy Combs, that he ran it for the purpose of his sexual exploitation and gratification. And what do criminal enterprises have? They have sex trafficking, they have assault, they have guns, they have drugs, they have a number of other things. Why am I saying this? Because she gives you all of that color, right? In addition to that, for the sex trafficking charges, what do they mean? It means that you ultimately had intercourse and were moving people around in interstate commerce between state and state. You were doing it by force, right? By compulsion, by coercion. And she indicates, because of the beatings that he gave her, because of his control of her relationship, because of the fact that he was who he was, that it was coercion. You also have in criminal enterprises, you guessed it, right? Sexual trafficking. And then, of course, there's the element of the prostitution. And so from a defense perspective, you have to refute that. And that's what cross-examinations are all about. Well, how do you do it? Number one, you have to speak to the issue of humanizing Sean Combs. We've had this videotape with him beating her played over and over and over again. So the defense has to indicate, right, and have her accept he was a charming guy. You said that, did you not? In fact, he was very engaging. He was very good to you at times. He was loving to you. That humanizes him, makes him not such the monster. Pivoting from there. The other issue as it relates to coercion is demonstrating that she could have left this 11-year relationship at any time. Why and how? She was a model. She was an actress. She was a singer. She was tremendously talented by her own right. She was well-resourced in her own right, and so therefore he wasn't compelled her to do so. And then finally, right, you're going to talk about
she was an actress before she became his girlfriend.
Issues relating to the enterprise, right? What does she know about how he was conducting his business? Certainly was a legitimate branding business. It was a business that certainly was one that was generational. And if you look at the coercion issue, final point, that is, listen, the end of the day, there were these text messages and emails showing that not only is it related to these sexual escapades and freak-off parties was she a participant, but in fact she helped to orchestrate it. So that defeats the issue of coercion. It defeats the issue of your compelling.
They don't repeat.
It makes her and him having a freaky.
Ventura sent this to.
After years of craftsmanship and
they don't repeat. Hold on.
Our leather shop is closing.
At that point, echoing her previous testimony of feeling trapped and afraid of Combs's rages. The defense also argued that jealousy played a role in the volatile relationship, with Ventura writing, "I'm nervous that I'm just becoming the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off of, and that's it."
I just miss Kim, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
Time with the late Kim Porter, the mother of 4 of his children, and
I know her feelings was hurt.
Ventura testifying she has some jealousy of Miss Porter because Combs would spend holidays with her even though they had...
All of this and you still was not the girlfriend. Lord.
Ray said when he
And you still was not the girlfriend. Hold on. Oh, they got their red balls on. Hold on.
Bodyguards and advisors helping him. Together, they agreed to commit different crimes, including kidnapping and arson, distributing drugs to other people, exploiting employees for labor, and in Mia's case, sex, bribery and obstruction, sex trafficking, and transporting people for prostitution. That's all covered by the racketeering conspiracy charge. The defendant is also charged separately for sex trafficking Cassie and Jane through force, fraud, or coercion. Again, the judge's instructions control, but I expect you'll learn that fraud includes a lie about a material fact. Coercion includes threats and forcing.
This is what they're showing right now. Hold on.
Dream of mine. From menacing and then running the marathon to come back to my neighborhood.
Cassie asked on the witness stand today how many freak-offs she participated in during her decade-long relationship with Combs. Prosecutors showed jurors still images taken from videos of these freak-offs.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for all those in London that don't know what happens to the white man when he comes to a P. Diddy party, this is what happens to the white man.
Jurors at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial got their first glimpse inside the
face down, ass up,
highly orchestrated sex parties that are at the center of this case. Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie, was on the witness stand for a second day, and as she testified, prosecutors showed jurors still images taken from videos of these freak-offs.
Face down, ass up.
Now, those images were not shown to the public inside the courtroom or to people watching in an overflow courtroom, but they were shown to jurors, and printed copies were provided to defense counsel and the judge. At one point, Sean Combs sitting at the defense table asking his lawyer if he could see the binder that contained 5 images from these videos of freak-offs. Now, later in the trial, it is expected that those videos will be played. They are under seal, meaning that the public will not see them. Prosecutors arguing that they essentially amount to a form of pornography. People are naked, people are engaging in sex in these videos. Nonetheless, they are essential to this case. Prosecutors allege that Sean Combs engaged male sex workers and his then-girlfriend Cassie and other people in these parties. Cassie asked on the witness stand today how many freak-offs she participated in during her decade-long relationship with Combs. She said, I don't know, hundreds?
Not in his mind. He's a working.
Now, Cassie also revealed that she received a $20 million settlement from Combs and his company after she sued him, alleging abuse, alleging freak-offs, in November of 2023. Cassie said that that lawsuit came after she, through her lawyer, was seeking $30 million for the rights to a book she was writing about Combs. That payment was never made.
It was a dream of mine, from menacing and then running the marathon to come back to my neighborhood.
Mrs. Combs, what did you think about today's testimony?
And then they heard from a man who was working as a male stripper back in the early 2010s, the assistant chief of security at the hotel in Los Angeles, where Combs was seen on tape beating Cassie, his then girlfriend, in 2016.
Mrs. Combs, what did you think about today's testimony?
The first day of testimony at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial concluded with jurors hearing from 2 witnesses. They heard from the assistant chief of security at the hotel in Los Angeles, where Combs was seen on tape beating Cassie, his then girlfriend, in 2016. And then they heard from a man who was working as a male stripper back in the early 2010s and became involved in sex with Cassie while Combs watched. That's what he told jurors today. The key moment on day one of this trial was the jury seeing for the first time that videotape of Combs in the hallway of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles beating and kicking Cassie. Now, prosecutors say this happened after a so-called freak-off, a sex party in a hotel room. Cassie was trying to leave, and Combs came out in a bath towel. He's seen on the video, kicking her, at one point throwing a vase, and then they're retreating to the hotel room. Cassie ultimately leaves. Now, prosecutors say that this is just one slice of a 20-year pattern of abuse, violence, and sexual misconduct. Combs denies this. He has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers argue that consensual sexual relations are being construed into a sex trafficking and racketeering case. Now, jurors did not react as they watched this video in court. It was played on monitors around the courtroom. They each had individual video monitors in front of them. Combs shook his head from side to side as the video began. The video was then played 4 different times as prosecutors and then a defense attorney walked the witness, that assistant hotel security director, through the various parts of the tape. The second witness to testify says he met Combs and Cassie at a Manhattan hotel back in 2012. He was sent there ostensibly to perform a striptease for a bachelorette party, but instead Cassie answered the door, he says, and invited him in to have sex with her while Combs watched. This happened again and again up until about 2013 or 2014, and prosecutors say this was part of a pattern where Combs would invite male sex workers, people paid to have sex, with Cassie while he watched.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? This glasses can not only see far away, but also
TMZ Live, Harvey Levin here.
Earl's here.
Well, the Diddy trial is just riveting. And the defense is now cross-examining Cassie, the star witness. So what we heard from prosecutors and the story told was that of an incredibly brutal, horrific relationship that Cassie had to suffer through. What the defense is now telling, or what they're trying to tell, is a love story mixed with a healthy dose of kink.
Yes, they are clearly wanting to show the jury that you've heard this side of their relationship with all of the graphic details of their sexual acts. Now we want to show you that this was really a loving relationship, maybe even most of the time. They have pages, more than 40 pages of text messages exchanged between them over the years that they were dating. And some of them, they started right away with exchanges like this one. Diddy sending her a text, "It makes me so happy that you would fly to ATL just to see me. I'm a very lucky man. I love you. I miss you. Can't wait to hold you." And she replied, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you needed me, whenever. I love you."
Now, the centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt. Whether it was communicated or not, it doesn't seem like at least the prosecution didn't get her to say, "I communicated it."
Because the defense will say, if that's just Cassie telling you how she felt and she never actually said those words.
That's correct.
To Diddy, how is he to know that he is forcing her
That's
to
right.
something?
So they now produced some texts showing that Cassie was actually into freak-offs.
Right. In particular,
this is 2009. This is the year after they started dating.
I'm always ready to freak off. It can be whenever.
So what they're trying to show is, because look, they're looking at a pregnant woman on the stand, and it's hard to juxtapose that with this. But the defense is saying, let's go back in time where this relationship started. And they're saying it was grounded in this and that it's not a crime.
This was their lifestyle. In fact, Cassie admitted on the stand that they led a swingers lifestyle.
Yeah, and at some point, what Cassie has said during her direct testimony was that the first freak-off they had made her feel humiliated, made her feel confused. But what was she actually expressing? And this text message does a lot to show what Diddy was receiving, which sounded like enthusiasm, excitement about freak-offs. It would be hard to say that he felt as though she felt she was being pressured. So that's what they're trying to draw that distinction by looking at her text messages. What were you saying during this time? And it sounded a lot like you were enthusiastic about freak-offs.
And she also, I mean, there were some we just cannot read, but it got really graphic.
Still very graphic about things that she wanted done to her, things that he wanted during their encounters that they were, it seems, setting up very frequently.
And Charles, I got to say that, you know, we have somebody in the courtroom who's been talking to the other people who were there. I've been looking at transcripts. You've been looking at transcripts. There is a lot that the prosecution brought up about domestic violence, and it is horrific what she went through. It is almost unspeakable. But the domestic violence that was raised, and a lot of it was raised, doesn't all, and most of it does not connect to the crimes for which he's charged. There are state crimes, but this is a federal case with very specific charges.
Now, you tell me, in your experience in covering trials like this, and even as a lawyer, the prosecutors don't have to slam dunk their case with one witness, two witnesses, or even three witnesses. Right?
Absolutely true.
They are painting a picture here, and they're just giving you little pieces of it. And at the end is when they want the jury to say, look what we've shown you.
You're 100% right.
So maybe Cassie is just she's not there to close the loop. She's there to paint, to start the tapestry, right?
But
this is who he is. These are the things that happened. These are the things I went through. And then later, you're going to have people who are testifying about how all of those things were set in motion. Who was planning?
Listen, I agree with everything you just said. But I go back to what happened in the Rodney King case, where there were expectations. And when the jury started seeing them, it was different. And the expectation in this case from the jump, with the U.S. attorney speaking, everybody said Cassie was the beginning and end of this.
Yes.
And I don't know how you feel. I mean, her testimony was compelling. And the stories are horrific.
I think we all felt like she was going to be that witness because we know that the whole reason that the U.S. Attorney's Office even started their investigation
was because of her lawsuit.
Was because of her lawsuit.
Right.
But maybe they discovered way more once they started looking into this, and those are the counts he's facing.
Emergencies can strike at any time. That's why it's crucial to be prepared. Create
way more once they started looking into this, and those are the counts he's facing.
And so far, guys, you're right that they have been focusing a lot on her testimony and on her cross-examination about domestic violence, which is not what he's being charged with. But we've learned that just moments ago, Diddy's own defense read out text messages that Diddy sent to Cassie in 2017 of him saying, "Didn't hear from you, so I just put some plans in motion. Let me know to stop. Surprise package coming in from out of state. Just let me know if I'm headed in the wrong direction and I can cancel." So that is the first time that I have heard or seen them mention anything about what he's actually being charged with, which is the Mann Act.
So what is the...
what is this? Depends on what that surprise package.
Yeah, what's the package?
I would assume a escort coming from out of state.
See, that's the thing. We can't make that assumption,
and that's the thing.
And that does come back to what you're saying about closing the loop.
Listen. He has a huge problem with the Mann Act. I mean, because the Mann Act doesn't require force or coercion with Cassie.
It's just the transaction.
It's the transaction. I think he has a huge, with all of the charges, because I think there are, listen, we did a mock jury in one of our Tubi, and we did not in any way prime them to go in any direction. We gave them the jury instructions. They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering, and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? and they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act, and they hung 6-6 on racketeering. The ovulation we should talk about.
Yes, because this is going to be debated by people, by couples around the country as to what she meant here. So, Mr. Combs wrote a text message to Cassie saying, "Do I have your permission to set up freaky fun?" And the defense attorney says to Cassie, "You wrote back to him ovulation," and Cassie said, "Yes."
We can say so right there. That is not even code. She is saying, "I do not want to have intercourse.
I do not want to have that freaky fun. I am ovulating," and that's a no without saying no.
That is a no.
Hold on, y'all.
I don't even.
Hold on.
I think that's debatable.
But
another context, ovulation is when people are trying to have babies. Okay. They say, "I'm ovulating. Come home. I'm ovulating. Let's have babies."
Yeah. Although
not here. I agree
with you.
with
Doesn't necessarily mean
it's a freak off.
I mean, from everything we've heard, when he says freaky fun, that's probably a freak off. So he says ovulation. But what is interesting is
this is the turn.
She agreed and said, "Okay, we can set this up."
We should get into what they said about kissing, because that's the key.
She does agree to go forward, and what he said to her in a text message was, "Okay, can we kiss a lot?" And the lawyer asked, "What did you say to that?" And she said, "Yes." So
Cassie
it sounds
said
as though she said no to sex, but agreed to a freak off that was more tame, with just lots of kissing.
A modified freak off.
Modified.
Now, and then here's the twist again. There are two twists here. And then the twist is she testifies that the freak off lasted 10 hours.
Diddy said to her, "All right, we're going to start at 10 p.m. and no getting out of character until 8 a.m.
So did they just kiss for? The thing is, they never said what happened in the room.
Getting out of character.
Well, one of the keys to this, though, to your point, Harvey, is if for 12 hours he stayed respectful and just kissed, then it sounds like they had an agreed-upon consensual freak-off on her terms that she allowed.
Right.
If it turned into sex and she had said ovulation, meaning no at the time, then it sounds more like a forced freak-off. So it does depend on what happened.
But we don't know what happened because they never said.
But remember, it's the defense that's raising this, so I'm guessing they know based on...
But then why didn't they ask? Why didn't they say, and what happened during the 12 hours? Yeah.
Can I just point out that, she said ovulation and we're assuming that means no, but ovulation is a time when you are most likely to get pregnant, but it's also the time when women are most erotically charged.
Horny.
Well, yes. But the thing is, what
Then all
follows
she
up,
would have said was
that
yes.
makes sense, because Diddy says, "What about kissing?" She says, "Okay." So you would
the
think
fact that she's saying, "All right, I'm fine with
you." The other thing, it's a subtlety, but the other thing I think is really important in that text exchange, he says, "Do I have permission?"
Yes, which is exactly why the defense brought it
That's
up.
right.
He asked your permission.
That's right.
Hey, this is Latrell from Atlanta. The Diddy Cassie trail is definitely monumental, unprecedented, and definitely perplexing. Hopefully, if these allegations are true, justice gets served. But I can't say that with Cassie's testimony. It might not be enough. They might need more witnesses in order for this to even go any further.
Yeah,
and there will be.
They're going to be again.
There will be.
Judges said they expect us to go 8 weeks at least. So.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right. When we come back, Justin Bieber showing off his drug use. While we told you what's been going on over in Iceland,
Cannabis. It's not just legal in 38 states. It's a $36 billion global
Haley and Michael Rowe.
But they were waiting for him to reappear in the UK. Apparently, Chris had no idea.
That's all TMZ investigates what happened to Justin Bieber. Which
2 years ago, actually more than 2.
Like one of the most iconic pop stars, and he has, like I said, a lifestyle. So as like an entrepreneur myself, if I was running low on cash, I'd have to sell something too. I'm really sorry that he had to do that, but I wish him the best because he's freaking awesome.
He is. Okay, we're going to move on.
Yes, moving on to another guy who was very talented at a young age, Chris Brown. And he is today facing charges in the UK, where he was arrested at a hotel. But I got to imagine this came as a huge shock to Chris, because what he was arrested for was something that happened almost 2 years ago, actually more than 2 years ago, I believe, when he was in the UK at a club and allegedly threw a bottle that was smashed on the head of a record exec who was in the club that night. Now,
There was a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, we knew that there was a civil lawsuit filed over this fight, but we had no idea that there were criminal charges being investigated. And obviously there were, because he had just recently touched down in the UK, arrived at the hotel, and they scooped him up.
Yeah, so really serious situation for Chris Brown here. We thought that this was sort of a couple of years old. We had reported upon on the civil case, but now it's sort of reemerged. It appears that, unbeknownst to everybody, that the criminal investigation was ongoing. I guess they had issued the arrest warrant some time ago, but they were waiting for him to reappear in the UK. Apparently, Chris had no idea either, or presumably
Yeah, why would he have gone to the...
Yeah, he wouldn't have gone if he would have known.
Right.
We didn't hear about it. We had no idea. Just real quick, I'm just going to test your memory.
Oh, boy.
There was...
This is not going to go well.
No, I think you'll remember. There was a huge incident fight between...
the nightclub...
At the nightclub in New York. What was the name?
Dream nightclub.
No.
Whip.
It was Whip. Oh, my God.
I did get it. Yes, I corrected myself once it came up
Well, that's
on
what
the
I was
screen.
thinking. I was just thinking of it when I heard this, because it reminded me of that.
Whip nightclub. That's right. That was back when Drake and Chris were battling about Rihanna.
And bottles were thrown.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jen Train from Georgia, and this situation with Chris Brown is really unfortunate. Obviously, if Chris Brown would have known that he had a warrant in Manchester, he would have never went. The question is, how long is he going to be in jail, and will there be a halt to his tour now that he's locked up?
Good questions. We have no idea.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
But we're going to try to get answers. When we come back, guess who has stepped into the middle of the Beckham family war? Someone who has his own family.
They used to be.
Will they deliver? Joining us right now to discuss that is Traff, who is, of course, covering the trial for his... There could be someone else or some...
Give him a car.
You get a TMZ tour bus, the whole bus. We're just going to give it to you.
Absolutely not true. Okay, we're taking a break.
All right. When we come back, as Cassie is being grilled by Diddy's defense attorneys, is she actually the star witness we thought she was going to be? Who is going to prove the counts that he is facing? Racketeering. Can she close the loop? We're going to be joined by Traff, the hip-hop journalist who is covering this as well, and he thinks there could be someone else or someone's else who turn into the star witnesses. Welcome back to TMZ Live. We got deep into Cassie's cross-examination earlier in the show. And one of the things that we've been talking about is that she may not end up being the star witness here, because a lot of her testimony just hasn't been directly about the counts that he's facing in this criminal trial.
I want to say she may not be, but the way
I
the
think
U.S.
it's gonna
attorney
be
put
Jonathan.
it, and the fact that she's witness one, and they
Who
positioned
thought
her
that
as the star
something was
witness.
going to
So the
happen
question to me, at
to
least, is,
Cassie
did they
and
deliver?
thought that Diddy was setting him up.
Did they
I think it's
deliver?
going to
And
be him.
if not with Cassie, with whom will they deliver? Joining us right now to discuss that is Traff, who is, of course, covering the trial for his Substack, Culture Fries, and I'm sure
Oh,
you've been
pressure,
glued
hush.
to every line of testimony as it comes out, just as we have. Well, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you. You know, I see a lot of people saying, and maybe Harvey is in this camp of like, the government isn't making their case. I think the government is absolutely making their case. I don't even know what the defense is trying to do.
Oh, we like a little healthy debate here, so.
Okay, so.
First of all, let me just say you're very perceptive.
I'm not a lawyer, but they're not making their case to lawyers. They're making a case to civilians, to jurors. The government is alleging a criminal conspiracy, an ongoing criminal enterprise, right? Diddy was committing
an ongoing rape of Cassie, right? Distinct but linked series of crimes. He's doing that with the help of a group of people who are in his employ, who are doing sometimes illegal things or help creating the illegal act together, right? His chief of staff, his head of security, other people, his businesses are paying for these events. That's a criminal enterprise. A group of people who are employed by him are helping him commit an ongoing series of linked but distinct crimes.
Okay, but let me stop you there, because I don't even think the government is arguing what you're arguing. I think the racketeering is going to get into the alleged kidnappings and the Kid Cudi car explosion and all those other things. What you're talking about, where she mentioned several times she was raped, those are crimes. If it's true, they're state crimes. But I'm telling you, no, the
freak-off is a crime also if you are bringing, that's bringing someone.
Freak-off is sex trafficking.
Right,
and
is the transporting someone for sexual.
A group of people.
I'm telling you, there is a separate charge of bringing a prostitute for the purpose of commercial.
Yeah, but all they need is two.
And he may be. Let me make my point. He may be prosecuted for that, but the racketeering. If you're going to try and say racketeering is what they did in the hotel room, I don't think the jury's going to buy that. And what they're getting at is, look, the problem I'm having is they're bringing up a lot of domestic violence, and I've heard a lot of the people in the courtroom are saying the same thing. It's like they're bringing up a lot of domestic violence, and a lot, but a lot of that are they're crimes, but they're not connected to the charges that he faces federally. And when you look at the
it is, because he's beating her when she was trying to leave.
Close the loop. That she's saying, in my mind, I was afraid that I was going to be hit or something.
They don't have to close the loop on day 4 of the testimony.
This is their star witness, and they've just rested on the star witness. They may have redirect.
Clearly coerced to doing these events.
Why do you say clearly coerced?
Because she tried to leave.
She said she didn't want to do it. She said she was
to who? To who? But that's what I'm saying. Did she say that to Diddy? She said
yes.
She said
yes. She told him she didn't want to do these events. She understood that they were physically painful to her.
But where did she say that? Listen, I'm looking for that too.
If you've been waiting to apply for disability benefits, don't. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a lawyer at Atticus. Apply.
But where did she say that? Listen, I'm looking for that too. No, we've looked. I mean, give me the transcript where she says to him directly, I don't want to do it, and he forced her to do it. There are insinuations.
She didn't want to do it. That she's the one being sex trafficked. She's the one who felt coerced to be part of these incidents. That she felt
that's true.
The freak offs were her job.
Yes,
right. But that's a devastating comment, right?
No, but wait a minute. Feeling it is one thing, and clearly she felt that. To convict him, it has to be in some way, and it could be by physical movement. It has to be expressed.
She's being taken to different places to have sex workers urinate into her mouth. No juror is going to go, maybe she liked it. She said she didn't like it. She went along with it for him, right? That's right. And there's a group of people who made that happen.
You're right. And the jury may just say, look, this is so far beyond the pale, if you will, that
hold on, y'all.
We're She says what she was internalizing. The problem the prosecutors have, and look, believe me, I'm not taking Diddy's side. What he's done is just horrific here. But I know what jurors do. They're going to look at the jury instructions, and they're going to look at 3 words: consent, force, and coercion. And what they've got to see is somehow that's communicated in some form. And when you read
from Cassie to Diddy in real life,
that's right. And in the urination testimony, it's not there, Torre. It's just not there.
What do you mean it's not there?
She never told it. No. She said it was disgusting. I felt.
She said.
Yeah, she said I felt
what I was feeling.
Exactly.
As opposed to I told him I don't want him or others urinating. Because she didn't say it to him.
I feel like she said it to him that she didn't want to do this, and I'm not sure that jurors are going to hang up on. You didn't tell him. He controlled her life. He controlled her, where she lived. He controlled her career. She felt this was
she's
a
told him
job.
before she didn't want to because he said, well, you're so
What do you think
typical.
could be,
You're
if
typical.
it's not Cassie, as it's feeling now.
Is
that
this
she's not
gonna
the star witness,
stress
as in
me out?
The one who's going to close the loop.
She
as you're
said
putting it,
no.
Harvey. Who could be?
Christina Karam.
This is his former assistant.
I'm interested in that. Give us, download
8
us.
years, who he called his right hand. She knew what was going on. She's doing the things like booking. I mean, look, I don't know this individual, so I cannot allege what she specifically did, but she's his right hand. She's going to have a hard time saying she didn't participate in setting up these sorts of things. And I know she said that publicly, but I can't wait to see what she says when she gets on the stand.
You're the person with the gun, the person who would do anything to protect the ones you love. But did you know that you could go to jail?
Christina, by the way, has denied that she was involved in any of the alleged illegal activities.
I just want to ask you, and again, I am not taking a side on this, believe me. Of course not. But today, on cross-examination, the defense showed her texts where she was saying, I love these freak-offs, I'm down with these freak-offs. And, it was early on in the relationship, a year or two into the relationship. But when she started this, there are multiple texts. I mean, you saw them today.
And she did say that she was, but she also said, I was in love with him for 11 years.
So that's not an inherently coercive
relationship.
It's not inherently coercive.
I think a text, and I saw the text you're talking about. I love a freak off. LOL. Early on, I don't. That doesn't inculcate or identify everything else that happens.
That happens for 8 years after that.
True.
I'm not sure how the defense establishes it wasn't rape. Cassie is like, he raped me many, many times, right? The freak-offs are rape. How does the defense really establish? Well, no, it's not. You could have left.
Well, no. Rape me. She did say there were points when he raped her, especially when she was dating her now husband.
2018.
And she says Sean Combs came to her house or raped her right there. That is a clear state crime.
And she didn't want to participate in the freak-offs.
Not
she
to him.
Physical pain during him. That's rape.
Not to him.
I think she does, and I think
so too. That's why he said that you were predictable. She said, "I don't want to do it. I want you."
This is linked to his business. She is his employee, and other employees of his are facilitating this happening. That's death. That's death right there for him legally.
God, I want to get you.
I mean, there's the power dynamic.
I want you to come back.
Yeah.
I really, maybe next week we can talk again, because I love your point of view on this. I really want to talk about it. If you come back next week, we'd love it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Deal.
All right, guys.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Trey.
Okay.
Obviously, remember, you can check out his Substack, Culture Fries.
Absolutely said at some point.
Everyone's got a different perspective on what's
she
happening
didn't want to do it
in court and what this testimony really means. For Diddy's
and he started going into this is going to stress me out.
The NFL schedule is out, and that has turned into
You're
a
so predictable.
full production for
Can
NFL
we kiss
teams.
instead?
You're going to see some of the funniest videos that were put
After she
together
done
by
told
these
him
teams
no
to announce the
kissing.
schedule, and 328 reference to the Falcons' loss. Between half a billion to a Tootsie Roll.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Oh, I heard that last night.
So the first guy's pretty good.
The tissue roll. Did y'all hear about that?
Diddy lawsuit. A new accuser
A
has
new
come
one.
forward and is comparing him.
Pressure. He got a new one.
And not in a favorable way. If Diddy didn't have bigger things on his plate, he would be really upset about
He
this
don't have a
lawsuit.
big thing though, so he won't have bigger things on his plate.
Justin Bieber is making between
my
$500 million and $1 billion.
TMZ investigates. Is he unraveling before our eyes?
He definitely looked out of it.
Those videos were scary.
The power struggle fueled by money.
He was on the verge of...
Jane Doe accuser filed one yesterday as the trial was in full swing, accusing him of a 2001 rape. She says they met in May of 2001 at a nightclub and that she hung out with him at recording studios, but then in July of 2001, things took a turn. What's interesting about this lawsuit is that she has, and I'm not saying that this means anything, doesn't discount her allegations, but she is taking a pot shot at him, comparing him or parts of him to a Tootsie Roll in the lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. Like Diddy didn't have enough already going on. Like you said,
wow.
obviously very serious
No
allegations.
wonder he's
She's
so
claiming,
jealous.
you know, the fourth time they
Oh,
hung out,
my
the first
God.
couple times at the studio and bars were cool,
Oh,
but
my
the fourth
God.
time brought her back to his apartment and essentially took her into one of his rooms, locked
Oh,
the
my
door,
God.
and raped her.
Look,
A Tootsie
you're
Roll.
right. You have no idea.
No, but
you have no idea what happened. Right. But it does when you're reading the lawsuit.
Oh,
It makes
my
you go like,
God.
wait. She has, and I'm not saying that this means anything.
Oh,
Doesn't
my
discount
God.
her allegations, but she is taking a pot shot at him, comparing him or parts of him to a Tootsie Roll in the lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. Like Diddy didn't have enough already.
Oh my God. New accuser said he took it from her too, and all he had to offer was a Tootsie Roll. I know he ain't doing all that. Baby. She said it didn't hurt her, but it's just the fact that he took it. Because all he had was a Tootsie Roll. Oh my God. Say it ain't so.
Going on. Like you said, obviously very serious allegations. She's claiming, you know, the fourth time they hung out, the first couple times at the studio and bars were cool, but the fourth time brought her back to his apartment and essentially took her into one of his rooms, locked the door, and raped her.
Look,
you're right.
we have no idea.
No, but
we have no idea what happened.
Right.
But it does when you're reading the lawsuit. It makes you go like, wait, is this all just to take some shot at him? I don't know.
Honestly,
but-
I think it's a misstep by the lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's going to get a headline. It's going to get you attention for your lawsuit,
but it diminishes it.
Exactly.
Could we use your house to trial our 24-hour bathroom upgrade system? We're looking for homeowners within valid states to test our new...
Diminishes it.
Exactly.
Liz, New Orleans. Now listen, the streets are already on fire with the freak-offs, the threats, the rapes. Let's not get it twisted. This is no laughing matter. So it's just giving more prison orange in his future.
We will see. I mean, there's a long ways to go in this
When
trial.
you have the quote in the lawsuit, an itty bitty Diddy, like you're right. The lawyer wrote it for trying to get a laugh. Is what it seems.
And trying to get attention.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you guys want to talk about?
John P. Diddy Combs on trial right now for basically his life at this point. What I find most interesting is that all the industry people that stood next to him for the last 20 years,
Where they at?
nobody showed up to support. No artists, no rappers,
'Cause they
no
know it's true.
moguls. But hey, guess what? I'm calling it now. This is the O.J. Simpson case of the 2020s, where the media, the content creators, the YouTubers, and the podcasters, we're going to be eating for the next 15 years. The streets got to eat.
Difference is not televised. Right. That's the big difference. One more.
Letitia from Dallas, and I'm here to talk about Justin Bieber. You know, he started out very young, spending all of that money. Now he's mature. He wants his family to eat and be able to support them. And he's doing adult things for the childish things that he did once before. So bravo, Justin Bieber. Bravo.
Taking a break. All right, when we come back, Joe Jonas seems to be loving the single life. We've seen him globetrotting with model Stormy Bree. Well, now there's a new woman on his arm. We will show you when we come back.
On the TMZ Celebrity Tour, we've seen huge stars like Kevin Hart, Ben Affleck,
We have with us Elizabeth Milner, who was inside that courtroom for the continued cross-examination of Cassandra Ventura. We believe she's going to be exiting the stand today. Elizabeth, so good to see you. I understand the elements are against you right now, so I want to make sure that we get to you quick. I know you have to jump back into the courtroom. Interesting day of cross-examination. What is the mood in the courtroom, and what is the theme of the cross-examination today?
Well, the mood in the courtroom was definitely seeing where this cross-examination would essentially go to, especially after yesterday. There were a lot of kind of comments yesterday just about how Esteveo was asking the line of questions. She seemed kind of frantic. She seemed kind of like she didn't know how to ask the next question. She's over kind of conferring with her other counsel who's at the defense table, kind of wanting to know and insinuate what is going to be happening next. A lot of the conversation, especially towards the beginning today, was just about the Intercontinental Hotel back in 2016. The defense asked Cassie, you said Diddy blacked out during this incident, and Cassie wrote in a message, she said, when you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have the power to knock me around like a rag doll. And the defense was kind of insinuating that during this moment, during this incident that happened in 2016, something that a lot of us saw on that surveillance video, they were kind of making it seem that Diddy was having a bad reaction to drugs, having a bad reaction to mixing it with alcohol, because even yesterday when they were cross-examining Cassie, they were talking about how he might have taken a bad batch of drugs during this incident, and even days prior to it, he might have been experiencing drug withdrawals during this incident. Again, trying to make it seem like this was the reason why he had attacked her on that surveillance video. Then they go back to 2016, where that same year, where the defense is asking, did Diddy accuse Cassie of cheating on him with some unnamed football player? Cassie wasn't sure how Diddy had learned of this. Cassie said she was dating someone else, but not sure how he found out. Diddy grabbed her phone, took off, and left without her phone. Her mom actually had to call the cops, essentially, to get her phone back. Diddy spoke with someone on her phone while he had taken her phone away from her, and that was kind of the crux of that phone conversation. Then Cassie was asked, how many times did Diddy take your phone away from you? And she
Get your free copy of my new best-selling book, Commercial Real Estate Investing for Beginners.
Your phone away from you. And she said, you know, he did do this often, as well as take other things from her, lock her outside of her home, take her car away, that type of thing, something that she had even answered to under the direct examination. Then there was another point where the defense was trying to say, you know, did he take your phone away after he caught you dancing with Chris Brown? This in 2013. Cassie says she doesn't necessarily remember this situation because possibly to her, this is something that just happens so often. Then I think, you know, Jesse, one of the more interesting points that had happened today was we heard this audio recording of Cassie back in 2014 as she was confronting this man named Sujit. Sujit had told Cassie in Atlantic City that he had seen a video of her, an sexually explicit video of her, and Cassie wanted to know where this video came from. How did it come into his possession? Because she had assumed that this was a freak-off video of her that was about to get leaked. And so we hear her in this audio confronting Sujit, and kind of, I think the point that the defense was trying to make was just that Cassie would commit violence. She said things along the lines of asking repeatedly, can I see this video? It's not me touching myself because you said someone else was inside that room. Sujit said that he had this video clip on his phone. You can hear Cassie saying, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will put you in a desert, I will cut you. She kept saying, I will kill you because you're effing with my life. And Cassie, at one point in this audio clip, said she'll get someone else actually to do it, and said that this SHIT is not cool. And, you know, I think essentially the defense was trying to point out, because this was something under her direct examination, that she was talking about how Diddy's security guards entered a conversation and they all had a sit-down meeting at a restaurant to obtain this video back. But from the defense's perspective, they're trying to essentially insinuate that Cassie was threatening to kill. And look, we've all been there, right? Where, you know, I could have a bad day and say, I will kill. actually, let me just kind of take that back a little bit because I don't want this to be used against me or anything like that. But, there have been points where I think anybody can argue that we have all said at one point that, oh, I'm going to kill you because that's how mad we get at another point. Another interesting moment that was discussed during this morning's testimony was Jonathan Auty. And we all know Jonathan Auty very well here at Law and Crime, especially you, Jesse, because you've covered him a number of times on Sidebar. Cassie was saying that Jonathan had taken a secret video of Cassie and Diddy during a freak-off, and Diddy tried to make this video go away. That Diddy spent actually a significant amount of money to make sure that this video didn't get released.
Trafficking.
And even after Auty had taken this video during this freak-off, Cassie had admitted that they never used Auty ever again during one of their freak-offs. She said that she was pretty concerned about the situation, concerned that Jonathan Auty would release this video. There was even a point that they had discussed today just about Garrett and Cowboys for Angels, an escort service that they had used often to kind of get escorts to their freak-offs, and that they actually had a reality show on Showtime about this called presumably Gigolos or something along those lines of that, and that some of the contestants on this show were some of the escorts used in these freak-offs. And, I could tell just being inside that courtroom today that there were some moments of just, I don't know if it was embarrassment or nerves or just kind of like, where is this going? Why are we talking about this? Especially as the defense was asking her about her rehab stint in 2023, where they were asking her, what type of treatment did you go for? Were you going just for depression, or were you going for sex addiction and love addiction? They were talking about how she did treatment therapy where she had pretty much wires to her brains just to kind of help her go through trauma therapy, and how she was recounting her memories. And I could tell that that was kind of a hard point for her to talk about, one, because it was so recent. I mean, 2023 was just a couple years ago, and this was months before she had filed her lawsuit. And so I could tell during those moments that a lot of us were kind of like, where is this going, and why are they getting so personal, asking her about her time during rehab, especially because it was kind of like, is this even necessary for them to talk about? And, I'm, again, not in the jurors' minds, but I was wondering if there was a little bit confusion on their end of what they were listening to, essentially, because in 2023, she was no longer with Diddy. She was married to her now husband. She had already had children. So we were kind of like, what does this have to actually do with her direct testimony at hand? And so, from what I could see of Cassie, she still has remained just like she has been the first few days of her testimony, remaining calm, cool, and collective. She, there were points you could tell where she just didn't want to recount these moments. One interesting point that she had said today is that she doesn't even hate Diddy. She said that she had love for the time that they had prior to that, but she admitted today during the cross-examination that she doesn't really hate him. And so as we were kind of wrapping things up towards the end, right before we had went to lunch break, they were kind of starting to get into the breakup and everything that happened in 2018, how Alex Fine was kind of connected to that. And even when we were in the courtroom, Alex Fine had to step out of the courtroom during those moments because the defense might call him as an impeachment witness to impeach his own wife's testimony later along whenever they get their case and whether they present their witnesses. And so those were kind of the biggest moments and the biggest highlights that I had seen inside that courtroom. As far as just tone today, Diddy was doing how Diddy always does, very much so, kind of quarterbacking his defense, jotting notes down, passing them off, handing them to his attorneys. Esteveo, I will say, she just seemed like she was just kind of scrambling a lot at times, something that I don't think is very much translated well onto the transcripts, that a lot of us are just kind of like, and this is no offense to her, I don't know what it's like to be a criminal defense attorney. I don't know what it's like to do those types of questioning, but I think a lot of us were kind of wondering, why is she the one doing the cross-examination as opposed to maybe Tenny Garagos or even Nicole Westmoreland or Alexandra Shapiro, because she just seemed a little all over the place where she didn't know where to take the questions next. She had to kind of, again, confer with Mark Agnifilo or Tenny Garagos about where the questioning would come from. So it was a little interesting to see her do this cross-examination because from our perspective, working in the press, it seemed all over the place, but no idea kind of how the jury was interpreting just all of this information.
And we're trying to make sense of it too. I mean, I think with the treatment, I wonder if the goal is to say, well, were your memories manipulated in any way? Were they affected in any way about what might have happened? I mean, it was right before you filed the lawsuit. Very interesting timing. Listen, Elizabeth, I know it's raining. I know you have to jump back into that courtroom. Thank you so much for your in-depth reporting, as always, giving us a detailed play-by-play analysis and breakdown of what's happening in there. Elizabeth, really appreciate it, as always.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse.
You got it. Okay. So we're going to continue the conversation with Mina and Ben once again. Mina, you heard what Elizabeth had to say. It felt, from her perspective, a layperson's perspective, a little disjointed what the questioning is. Ben and I are attorneys. We're trying to figure it out, how they're making the legal arguments. I think I'm getting a sense of where they're going. But what do you think? Is it a little too disjointed?
They're fishing. They're fishing. They're trying to maybe say maybe she had a sex addiction and, or maybe this is the drug's fault, and I think you're right about it's going to come down to closing arguments, right? How do they make sense of everything that we're hearing? Are they going to say that, this was infused by drug abuse and drug use? Are they going to try to use that? Or are they going to say that they were both sex addicts? They have to blame someone, right? The defense has to blame someone other than Diddy or provide an explanation for why these things happened. So they're fishing to try to do that, it seems to me.
We got a question for you, Ben. This is Lisa G. You know me. Actually, I do know a Lisa G. I don't know if she's saying that to me. Well, Lisa G, you know me. I think I know. Can someone help me understand, does Miss Ventura settling for a reported $20 million lawsuit impact her credibility in the court's eyes? I mean, Ben, the lawsuit that she filed did come up during her questioning.
Yes, I think it's a great question, and I think it might influence the jurors. On the other hand, if I were the government, I would argue that the fact that civil lawsuit is settled actually takes away any incentive for her to make it seem worse.
So we have more super chat questions coming in. Eva Rios, thank you so much, Eva Rios. Hello, is this the same judge who denied bond? Well, there were multiple judges who ended up denying Sean Combs bond, and I believe Subramanian was it was 2 or 3, I forgot. It was 3, right? It was 3 judges, right? And they actually abandoned the effort at one point. They could have actually fought it even higher. They could have appealed it even higher, and I think they cut their losses. They said we need to focus more on the defense moving forward to trial. We have a question from, again, a super chat question from RegHan43. Thank you so much for the contribution. Will the prosecution team subpoena or get celebrity mogul Jay-Z on the witness stand to cross-examine? Mina, I'm going to start with you and then I'll move on to Ben. What do you think?
First of all, if you know anything about Jay-Z recently and his acumen when it comes to attorneys, I think it would be very difficult. Jay is lawyered up, basically. And I don't see...
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and ad-free videos on the YouTube.
Lawyered up, basically. And I don't see his relevance, right? We haven't heard about him being involved in this at all. Social media is running rampant with allegations and speculation about who were at these freak-offs, who participated, who else aided and knew what was going on, but he hasn't come up. And I think even if he does come up, which I don't think he's going to come up, Jay is so well-versed that I'm pretty sure he will never see that courthouse.
And by the way, you're referring to, of course, the fact that he was accused in a very public lawsuit of sexually abusing a 13-year-old girl in 2000. That lawsuit against him was dropped, arguably because the allegations against him were debunked by not only NBC News, but also Jay-Z's attorneys, or seemingly debunked, I should say. Now, Ben, I'll throw it to you. Jay-Z, we're going to see him at this trial?
No. And I agree with Mina. If I could for a second, I wanted to go back to her point about fishing. Fishing is not something, as you know, Jesse, you want to do on cross-examination. It goes back to the old adage, never ask a question to which you don't know the answer, because you can get many bad surprises on cross. What they should be doing on cross is to be extremely organized, make their points succinctly, and stop.
Yeah, and I wonder if that might be affecting things. Ben, I'll just stick with you. We had a question from BK. If Cassie's testimonial is only classified as domestic violence, who can bring and help prove the racketeering? So if I could just tweak that question a bit, do you think that her testimony so far has helped with the overall racketeering conspiracy charge, Ben? And if not, who does the prosecution need to bring to prove it?
I don't think that they've established any of the technical aspects at all yet. I think this is all about poisoning the jury's mind about Diddy, which probably was done by the video. I'm not sure who the government has, but as Mina said, the government is going to have its ducks in a row, and they're going to have witnesses who can, at least on their face, satisfy the elements.
I need to get some juice. Hold on.
I think that there is a little bit that they're making. So when she testified about, you know, he has these security guards, he has these assistants who are constantly checking up on her, who are cleaning up after the freak off. So if you're talking about a criminal enterprise and him having a team of people and a conspiracy, multiple people working together, I can kind of see how that testimony helps. If she's talking about underlying predicate crimes to prove racketeering, allegedly blowing up Kid Cudi's car, arson, right? You're talking about her doing drugs, drug trafficking. She's talking about being sexually abused, sex trafficking. So I think that there are elements that are, I don't think it's crystallized. I think I'm doing mental gymnastics here myself to try to make sense of it. It'll be up to the prosecution to do. Okay, here we got a great question. Okay, this is for you, Mina. This is an interesting one. Bobby Heath. Jesse is the very best at doing sidebar. First of all, thank you. I'm not making this up, by the way. These are the actual compliments that are on here, so I appreciate it. A question I have, if this is the question, a question I have is if Cassie wasn't 9 months pregnant, would they put her on the stand last to finish strong?
What difference does that make?
I don't think so. I think that video is so powerful. They have to establish the violence that Diddy is capable of, and then the supporting witnesses will fill in the blanks, right? Also, you have to establish the racketeering part of it and the organized crime part of it. And I think it was really strategic how they started with the bodyguard, the intercontinental bodyguard, and where the bodyguard said, I went there and he threw money at me, and you know, he bought the tape for $50,000 or something like that. And you have to really establish that there's a cover-up, right? A cover-up that's trying, that they're trying to really, you know, hide what they're doing. And I think you needed to see it so they can fill in the blanks after that.
Question for you, Ben, from Daniela3984. Please keep them coming in. We got a lot of questions coming in right now. But can new witnesses, Ben, added by the state attorney, prosecutor, or would it be possible for the judge not to allow new witnesses? That's a good question, a trial question about how much you can add new witnesses during the course of the trial.
Yes, it's a great question. It's a great question, and usually there are deadlines for that, but both sides can also bring in rebuttal witnesses who have not been identified by either side. So there usually are some new witnesses at trial.
We have, excuse me, joking here. Got a question from Lisa Morales. Are we going to see Justin Bieber on the stand? Very funny you should say that, Lisa. No, I don't think we're going to see Justin Bieber on the stand, particularly he came out today,
and he said all of this was a lie.
He is not a victim of Sean Combs. So by the way, we are going to do a sidebar on that. It's going to come out tonight. So I'm actually going to record right after this. But Mina, no, right?
No, he's already put that to rest. That rumor has been running around on social media as well. In fact, social media started pulling up everyone who Diddy has been associated with. Since they were young, Justin Bieber, Usher, I think his attorney made a good point saying, mentioning Justin really takes away from some of the actual victims here, and that we need to focus on those victims. So no, I don't think Justin Bieber is going to be showing up here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is a misnomer and maybe a disappointment for people who thought this was going to be a celebrity-filled trial. Big names are going to be accused. That's not what this is. This is a very particular case with very particular witnesses. Having said that, there is reports that Dawn Richard is going to take the stand after Cassandra Ventura. By the way, you mentioned, one of our viewers kindly mentioned sidebar. I want to just say something real quick. So, I have to say it. I got to say it. Listen, we're constantly covering this case. We're constantly covering true crime news, and we make this content specifically for our YouTube audience. We just got the word that Sidebar was ranked number 32 in the top 100 podcasts on YouTube, and that is all thanks to you and your support and your viewership. Really, really thank you so much. Listen, not self-promoting, but I'm letting everybody know.
Why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative?
I got the tummy tuck results without.
question for you, Ben, from Christina. Do we know if any other victims and how many will be testifying? Also, witnesses to these freak-offs. Can we expect any and how many?
I think that, and Jesse, you may know the exact number. I think we're going to hear from 3 additional victims.
Well, there were supposed to be 4, right? And one of them we couldn't find. So yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah, I had understood originally there were going to be 4, which really, I think, establishes the pattern, which also, again, begs the question as to how hard you're going to cross-examine Cassie Ventura when you've got 3 other victims who are going to say the same thing. And yes, there may well be some witnesses, including the person in jail that you were just speaking about.
Yeah, I think other escorts or male performers may be taking the stand as well. Who they are, not entirely sure. Okay, here's a question for you, Mina. This is from Ari. Will Christina Coram, who is Sean Combs', I guess, former chief of staff, and Gene Deal, who at one point was his bodyguard, will they testify?
Gene said he may.
We don't know. I heard that they have about 100 people on the possible list.
Gene said he started
that's
it.
Kind of an interesting thing about court. You could think something's happening or going to happen, and then there's a pivot because of maybe something that was said during testimony or cross. So I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to hear their side of the story if they're being accused of helping in this alleged racketeering and organized sexual, crime company. It would be interesting to hear what they did. I know that one of them had released a statement stating that she's never aided in any crimes. So I think it would be important to hear their side of the story, because at the end of the day, you do have to prove that organized crime racketeering piece.
Got another question from Chris Bono that I think is great. I'll throw this to you, Ben. Would Cassandra Ventura need to give that money back for any reason?
No.
So again, she had that settlement with Sean Combs, now testifying against him. Would she have to give the money back for any reason?
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, and Mina, you were shaking your head too, no.
And you know what? The fact that he gave that money in under 24 hours also speaks volumes, right?
Yeah, no, it's although I don't know, there are people who've said, and Ben, you go to this, there are people who settle for all different kinds of reasons, right, Ben? They don't just settle because they're guilty of what they're, liable for what they're being accused of, if we're talking in a civil sense, but they settle for other reasons. They don't want it to amplify, they don't want to go through litigation, maybe they settle before a lawsuit's filed because they don't want it to go public. We can't just automatically take the settlement to mean that all of this is true, right, Ben? Or what do you think?
Yeah, completely right, Jesse, that people settle for all kinds of reasons to avoid stress, to avoid legal fees, but the quicker the settlement, as Mina pointed out, and the amount of the settlement do speak
volumes.
Yeah, the bigger the settlement, the worse it looks.
By the way, I have a question for you, Ben. He's got a massive legal team. Is that what you expected?
Yeah, that's what I would expect, although that can be an advantage and a disadvantage. Personally, I like a smaller team with everybody on the team knowing everything about the case. The problem when you have a big team, as you know,
20 million
is that
will
you'll have
make the
people
Fed
who know little
look.
pieces of the case.
Cassie didn't
So
want.
it's just a question.
Oh,
of
they
preference,
knew
but yes,
when
I
she
would expect
negotiated.
to
Now
have
that I'm gonna say,
Okay,
they
I have a
knew.
question for you, Mina. This is from Donnie Darko 99.
Let me say this: if I think the feds knew, and just as soon as he paid it, that was a form of admission of guilt, and in their eyes, which gave them the momentum to go ahead and move forward. I think I've mentioned before when I talked about that PPS stuff with the feds. If you negotiate or pay back or negotiate any type of money to them, and you agree to pay this or pay that, the minute you pay, they closing in. Now that I know. So yeah.
No one's asking why did she sign the 10 album
Cause how
contract?
else?
Why did Diddy?
I mean, if I'm a think that through, how else would she have immunity already? Hold on. Well, I'm saying already. I'm just saying. So if they were already investigating Diddy, which I do believe they were, I think they was even investigating him off of the Jonathan guy when he was in for questioning. So they were already on to Diddy and his trafficking, human trafficking, escort, crossing lines. They were already on him. And so they may have talked to her about, because if Jonathan brought up Diddy, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled, and other people, then of course he implemented her too, because he said that he was Cassie and Diddy's ex-slave. So the feds probably had already began to talk to her or question her. So she may have mentioned the book. I don't know how it went down, but she had already been questioned, and so she worked out immunity. Right? Can we agree with that? Before the trial started. That's why, she can freely talk about, her part, where people are saying she's guilty too, but not in the eyes of the law. That's why they're not going to charge her. They want Diddy on trafficking, racketeering. They got him. You can best believe that. And Jonathan ready to tell it. And now he got a video because he thought that Diddy wanted him to be extremely aggressive with her, like he was doing meals, beating it in. And he thought that it was odd. And he thought that if something was going to happen to her, that Diddy was going to blame him. Okay? So he recorded it. And he calls himself a ex-slave for them too. Yeah, Diddy in trouble, baby. Yeah, he in trouble.
Didn't let her create more albums if that's what she signed to.
Well, Danny, that is a great point.
He didn't want her to sign more.
Donnie, thank you, Donnie. That's a great point, but I think the prosecution, if I'm right about this, they're going to point out that maybe because the music wasn't important to Diddy.
It wasn't.
At one point, Cassie did say, "This was my job, these freak-offs."
Right.
So I think the fact that she couldn't really actively participate in her music career because he controlled that, and then she had to participate in these other sexual activities. I think that's actually going to help the prosecution. But you're right. Why sign her to this deal? She was also 19. Mm-hmm. And a lot of young artists sign deals that are not favorable to them. It's very important to have an attorney when you're signing a deal like that. And I don't know if Cassie had that present, but I'm not an attorney, but Ben, you are. I would never allow my client to sign a 10-album deal. I mean, like I said, even if you release the album every year, you would be under a contract for 10 years. That's ridiculous.
Ben would never let that happen, right, Ben?
No, I took no way.
Mm-mm.
Mina, you say you're not a lawyer, but you know the law backwards and forwards as much as anybody else. Okay.
Let me say this, though. I went to Syracuse University. I'm a new school, television, radio, and film, and political science, Jesse. I was almost there. Almost.
And you're giving me a hard time about self-promoting.
Hey, B-Money.
What is going on? No, I'm just messing. So, okay. Here's something that's interesting from Janae Hall. Janae Hall for you, Ben. Will witness 3 be held in contempt if they don't show up, since they're saying they do not know where this witness is?
He may not be alive.
If the witness violates a subpoena or violates a court order, the judge could issue a capias, which is basically a summons for the witness's arrest. But that's only if there's been proper service or a court order. If the witness is simply missing, the witness is not necessarily in contempt.
But isn't the problem, Ben, even if they were to compel her to take the stand, that could affect her testimony and might not work for the prosecution's benefit. And they might say, we're cutting our losses. She's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a witness who is so reluctant that she's avoiding service, you probably don't want that a witness, especially when you have the burden of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You don't want a loose witness there because it can be the subject of the closing arguments that Mina mentioned.
We got a question for you, Mina, from Moose Moose. How long does this case go for?
They're estimating 6 to 8 weeks, so 2 months tops. Which I think is pretty fast considering other cases. I mean, Jesse, you and I covered Young Thug, and that went for over a year.
Don't use Young Thug as an example. That was insane. I mean, that shouldn't happen. But you know, it is interesting, Mina, when you think about it and the power of Cassandra Ventura's testimony. There are some attorneys I've spoken to who say, hey, it's great to get her out in first, right? Primacy, recency, one of the first witnesses they hear. Then again, 8 weeks later, that impact of her testimony might fade a bit. No, Mina?
Yeah, I agree. But we also don't know who's coming next, right?
Right.
And what their testimony is. So I think that the prosecution, it's hard to say because we're not in the courtroom. And that's some of the limitation with this particular case. You have to just kind of get it from word of mouth from other people. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how that's these next witnesses are gonna impact the jury and what their testimony is gonna be.
So we got a question for you, Ben, from Gossip Squirrel. Okay, that's great. Will we see Diddy speak at any point during the trial?
Great question. Probably the most critical question from Gossip Squirrel. My personal theory is that he's going to defy convention and testify. The rule, as you know,
he's
is
a
that the defendant
narcissist.
doesn't testify. I go back to the video. That's why I'm not sure it matters that it will have been a long time before Cassie has testified, because you know the prosecution's going to show that video again in closing argument. But if I were the defense, I would think very strongly about putting him on. I think he's got to come. He's got to explain that. He's got to apologize for it. The problem is he's already apologized.
Yeah, he did.
Come in.
Yeah, he apologized, Ben, in that Instagram video, and that didn't go over well.
No, so he's going to face cross-examination out the wazoo. But I still think he's got to show some remorse so they don't think that he's such a monster as he appears to be in the video.
So we have a poll up on Law and Crime. And we always put a bunch of polls up there in the course of this case. The question we asked is, who do you think won? 67% say the prosecution won week one. 33% say the defense won week one. You think that's a fair assessment of the week, Mina?
I think so. I've seen some contradiction online.
They side with
I've
me.
seen, the comments kind of say, where's the crime? This seems like a domestic violence case, but they're getting to it. They've sprinkled in different elements, bringing in the escorts from a variety of places. I actually have it written down here. Prostitutes from Miami, Las Vegas, LA, Ibiza. They've introduced the fact that Diddy might have blackmailed her by saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to release these freak off videos of you. They've introduced the fact that when something's going wrong during the freak off, someone's getting baby oil, or someone's orchestrating these things and supplying, and kind of it adds to that organized crime bit. So I think they've had some successes. I do think that it would be wise, to be honest, to put Diddy on the stand. I mean, if I was on this case, I'm not an attorney, but I would put him on.
He's too arrogant.
They would humanize him, and I think he'd be able to tell his story in his own words, and then help the jury really understand who he is. He's very charismatic. You don't get to be a mogul by not being a people person. So they're painting him as this violent person, which he can be, but there's also another side of him where he's very good with people. You know, you don't have multiple businesses, Sean John, Ciroc, you know, you're representing liquor companies. You don't get to be this person without being a good people person. And I think it would be wise to let the jury see that.
Hey, what's up? It's Tyson.
Oh, yeah, but they also see he conniving and manipulative and controlling.
I to let the jury see that.
I would say, look, it's his decision at the end of the day, and he's probably going to make a game time decision based on how they think they're doing in the case and whether it's necessary. I would get a question from Martina Masadas. Any insight into why Sean Combs' children were allowed in court during such sensitive testimony? Well, they're adults. They want to be there. They want to be there. It's their choice. I mean, it's probably not the most comfortable testimony to listen to about your father's sex life.
Well, hell, if they lived in the same house with him.
They're there to support him. We get a question. Oh, we have an update from court. So yeah, this is Sean Combs' attorney, Anna Esteveo. I want to say we're going to finish with cross faster than he thought, probably before the next break. Combs' other attorney, Mark Agnifilo, says, may I speak with the government for 1 minute? The judge says, bring the jury back. There was also something about Tenny Garagos on exhibits and redactions. Okay, we have a question here, Ben, from Soul Shadow. Do you think at some point we'll have psychological experts who can explain the mechanisms of psychological control in this type of relationship? And if you don't know the answer to this, Ben, I do, but you tell me if you want to answer this one.
If I were the prosecution, I would, but I turn to you for the actual answer.
So you're going to know this name. Dr. Dawn Hughes going to be testifying. And she will not be allowed to testify about coercive control, but other certain dynamics of a relationship she will be able to testify to. And I know, Ben, she played a role in your trial.
Yes, she did. Yes, I think she had mixed results.
Yep. Well, that's going to be very interesting to see, because I guess, Mina, the question becomes, and this is the question, right? If you were abused, Cassandra Ventura, if you were trafficked, Cassandra Ventura, why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't you leave? Why did you, even though she said she didn't keep coming back, why did you stay with him? There are cases that are understanding of sexual abuse, and this is allegations here. They've changed over time, Mina, about why alleged victims do these things. And I was in the Harvey Weinstein trial, okay? I mean, I covered it the entire time. And that was a big point of analysis, is that if Weinstein did this to you, why did you stay in contact with him? You can be abused and do that. It's documented. So it becomes a very interesting and important conversation to have, Mina.
There's a psychology behind the abuse that is very important to explain in this particular trial and any trial involving sexual abuse and trafficking.
Grooming.
Absolutely. So again, we have a question from Legs7K. Ben, now Cassie has given evidence. Is there a possibility there may be a male witness similar to Witness 1? Now, Witness 1 was the security guard, so I don't know if they were actually referring to Witness 2, who is that male performer that allegedly was paid to have sex with Cassandra Ventura. But I imagine we're going to be hearing from probably more individuals in that line of work, Ben.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yep. We got a question from Ashley Glass. If the prosecution didn't think, I'll throw this to you, Ben. Ashley Glass, if the prosecution didn't think they could get him on these charges, why would they raid him and stuff? Like, I mean, it's a fair question, right? So we keep talking about, I've said this in the opening statement. It felt to me like the prosecution really was spending a lot of time trying to explain to the jury why this is a crime. Not if he committed a crime, why this is a crime. Racketeering, sex trafficking,
because people don't understand
charges,
it,
right? But this is the Southern District of New York, Ben. These are one of the top prosecuting teams in the entire United States. They wouldn't have gone after him. Just why? Because they can't, there's no state charges he could be charged with, and they have to get him on something. No, they would go after him, I think, feeling like they have a strong case, right?
Absolutely, and they wouldn't do the raid. Of course, they have to get a judge to approve that. They wouldn't even try that unless they felt they had a very strong case.
We've got a question, Mina, from Janae Hall. Is it likely the defense will have any of his children testify on his behalf?
I wouldn't. As a parent, I wouldn't want to put
Okay, y'all, I'm
my children
totally
anywhere
out
near
of
this.
juice.
Keep them away. Don't open them up
And
to
it's
this.
not going to
Protect
charge as
them,
long.
right? I absolutely would not do that.
Well, if he's convicted and there's a sentencing hearing, I'm sure his children will make statements in some capacity in his side, for sure. I mean, that's something we can expect. You're right, Mina?
I do want to add that there's also things that are unsaid, right? His children being there, his mother being there. Those are all unsaid things. We support you. We believe you. I mean, a lot of the analysis from the reporters are, who's looking where, who's doing what. His daughters, when they were having very graphic testimony about the sexual nature of this trial, his daughters left. All of those things are being watched. The jury can see that. So there's a lot of things that are unsaid that you don't need to put your child on the stand to say.
Yeah, and by the way, it goes to another question, Ben. When you have a client, right? Okay, whether it's a celebrity client or any kind of client, you have to coach them on how to behave in that courtroom at all times because the jury's going to be watching. I imagine the jury looks over at your client 60% of the time, 70% of the time.
Okay, y'all, I'll be back later. I gotta go. I don't have no juice.
Wrong? I mean, you have to coach them about
Peace
how
out.
to behave.
No, you're absolutely right. And every second you're in the courtroom, and it goes for the attorneys